Hey, what's up, Internet? This is your boy JG, and I am, I'm here with Neal McCready, as you can see, the badass from rebelgrove.com. What up, McCready?
What's up, Jay? We're both wearing our sports jerseys, attempting to will sports back into existence. You got on? What do you got on? You got a USA Soccer jersey on?
Yeah. USA Soccer, absolutely. So,
okay. I got a New York Yankees home jersey that I bought in New York, drunkenly one night when I was up there. I guess I was up there for the NIT, and Ole Miss had lost in the semifinals, and I couldn't come back for a couple of days, and so I just hung out and got a Chin-Ming Wang or whatever his name was jersey.
That's a real person?
Yeah, he was a pitcher.
Was he a reliever?
No, he was a starter, I think. I don't know. It was the jersey that was on sale. It was the last year of Yankee Stadium. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh boy, that's a cool patch, though.
It is a sweet little patch. 2009. It was the first year, actually, Yankee Stadium inaugural season. So the first year of the new stadium.
All right.
I haven't been to the new stadium. I've been to the old one. I'd love to go to the new one, but I haven't been.
All right. That's badass.
So I'll start breaking out a jersey each week. Just different random jerseys. We'll try to will our way back to this damn thing. I refuse to let the negativity get me, Jay.
Well, that's good of you.
Yeah.
I jumped on the Oxford Exxon podcast somewhat recently.
Yeah?
Yeah, just to see what was going on. And you had kind of alerted me that I might be on the show, and then I started watching the show, and then I never got called, which is fine. I'm not upset about it, but it'd be nice if you wouldn't, blue ball me like that.
Oh, my apologies. I would never intentionally blue ball you. If I recall, that was near the end of the show, and it's a possibility that I may have been over the limit, as they say.
Over the limit. Yeah, that's one way to put
it. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah, that is one way to put it.
So have you tweeted out yet?
No, I haven't tweeted it out. I got other issues going on here, bro. My computer's still working really hard here.
That's what she said.
I'm trying to understand why my computer is the fans are on and everything. I'm very tempted to get another computer for this, just for this purpose. Like a desktop.
Yeah, I've thought about getting a really strong, powerful desktop for nothing but podcast, and use it for nothing but podcast.
Not a bad idea.
No, it's really not as much as I do. I'm up to now like 9-10 podcasts a week. Just put nothing but the podcast software on there. Don't use it for publishing anything else. Just bang.
Do you really? You think you do 8 podcasts a week?
Well, I know I do. I do 9 because I do a daily Oxford Exxon podcast. That's 5. I do this one. That's 6. I do the Soft Verbal podcast, which is recruiting. I do the Beer Garden, which is just sort of general topics. And then I do Mind on My Money by Pinnacle Trust, presented by Pinnacle Trust, which is financial. So
yeah, of course.
That's 9. Yeah. Every week.
Damn. That's crazy.
And then during the season, we do a live show on game day. So that's 10.
Let's see. All Hydraulics, which I guess is one of your guys, says McCready looks like a young Don Mattingly.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Webb, who is one of your guys, says that hair is getting mighty dark, Jay. How dare you? Yeah, I'm having trouble with that. As you guys know, we're not able to get haircuts right now. That's really affecting McCready a lot.
Alabama opened up, though, right? Pretty soon you're going to be the salons are open again?
I'm actually proud. Mammy, our governor, Kay Ivey, she said today that she is going to continue to keep our stay-at-home order in place, and she's not going to open up until an aggregation of experts, scientists, health officials, et cetera, give her the all clear, which hey, man, I'm generally for opening things, but I don't want to do it at a point before it's smart. And so I'm glad to see that she's going to think about it a little bit before we go with this.
I don't want to have a setback. It seems like we're having some positive momentum, and so I don't want to mess that up. I'm at a point now where and I know I don't mean this from a business standpoint, okay? I'm talking about big picture. I need, like Oxford keeps saying, the mayor here, Robin Tannehill, keeps saying that She wants Oxford 100% back August 1st. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. I know that's painful, but I'm in. August 1st, in. Give me August 1st. If you told me today everything's back to 100% normal August 1, I'm signing.
You're on.
Because that means that we're incrementally getting back to that place, and that August 1, that means that September 1, I'm good to go. I mean, I'm in. I mean, ideally everything's back to normal Monday, but I don't think that's the option. So given that.
Yeah. We got some funny stuff coming through the chat. Georgia Rebel says, did Gabe get lost in his pantry? Canoe Man, one of my guys, says Gabe's generic background must not have come in. Actually, it did. We saw it.
It did. We've seen the picture. It was backwards.
It was backwards, right?
Yeah.
He tried to blame it on the camera, but whatever. Yeah. Pocket Watch, one of our guys, says Cray K, our governor, was told by the power company she couldn't open yet, and she listened. Then she poured another drink. She seems she's a little on the old side, McCready, our governor.
Yeah, I've seen her. Hey, how's that Senate race going, Jay?
I don't know. I mean, it's between Coach Tubb and
Sessions.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions. Yeah.
When's the runoff?
Well, it was supposed to have already happened. It's been postponed indefinitely because of the coronavirus.
Oh.
I'm hoping that Tubb wins because, I almost feel like Tommy's a friend of mine. I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
Lately, we don't hang out, but typically we hang out. I mean, at games and stuff, he'll text me and be like, "I'm here. I want to see what's up." So I feel like he's kind of a friend of mine. I mean, I know you keep up with him too. He's just he's one of those guys who just kind of stays in your life.
Yeah, I hadn't talked to him in a while. The last message I sent to him, he didn't respond.
He's a really good dude because he knows shit about everything. We got a super chat come through from Webb Moore, who has been very, very supportive of the GPITS show. I'm sure in addition to the stuff that y'all do.
Yeah, Webb's a great dude. He's awesome.
He says, Jay, this is for all of your hair products. Please do this as a call-in show. I'm all for Bubba calling in and talking with Jay. Is Bubba on your show?
Bubba is typically our first caller on Hand Raise Guys.
And what's the general play there?
Bubba, great guy. What you would anticipate with a person named Bubba, we get with our Bubba, and he's a really good dude, and just kind of tells us what's going on. And there's a lot happening in quarantine land for Bubba. He's been busy.
Okay. He says, I feel Jay and Bubba are soulmates. LOL. This will pass. This will pass, guys, and shine on me for the Auburn game. All right.
Webb wants us to get together and have a Auburn Ole Miss party if there's a game. He said that he would foot you and he would foot our bill in its complete and total entirety to a number, Jay, that quite frankly I don't know that we could drink it, but we could certainly try.
Webb obviously is an Ole Miss guy, but is not an Ole Miss, right? He is like on the East Coast. Is that right?
Yeah, he's up in the New York area.
All right. Damn. That's not fun. That's not a fun place to be right now.
Nope. It's not.
You got a compliment from Georgia Rebel, who I personally love, and I know you love too. It says, awesome cup, Neal.
Oh, my Cubs cup? Yeah.
You got a Cubs cup? We got Chris Bryant. Neal's not able to see it, but we have Chris Bryant here on our page. Since Gabriel's not here today, I had to fill the space, and so I just put a picture of Chris Bryant with a thumbs up.
My cup has a picture of Kyle Hendricks, John Lester, and Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels no longer with the Cubs. Lester and Hendricks are.
It happens.
But it happens. Cole Hamels is now an Atlanta Brave.
Good for him.
If they actually play.
Things I've got to discuss. Webb says he's in D.C. currently and TDY in New York. Not sure what TDY is, but we love you anyway. Obviously military, yeah. Things we need to discuss today, McCready. You wanted to go on a rant, I think, about closing down or.
Well, just these decisions, the decisions being made. So people, the temptation to make these early decisions is driving me insane.
I don't understand why. I don't see much value in making decisions this far out.
I mean, it's exactly. I'm not saying that ultimately that might not end up being the right decision, but how could you possibly know today? That's what I wanted to conversate about.
You can't know. I want to talk. You went on a rant. Actually, my wife alerted me to this. She said, "Uh-oh, Neal's pissed again." and she alerted me to a Twitter rant that you had gone on about DirecTV. You apparently
Awful.
you've had it with them.
I'm at my wits' end with DirecTV.
Okay.
Now I've been told I've been with them for 20 years. I've been told that I need to call the loyalty program and have a conversation, and that they'll basically kiss my ass. But
hey, McCready being mad, who would have thunk it?
Yeah, but man, it's just it's bad.
All right, I'll hear it. I'm actually a cable guy now for reasons that are I don't really want to explain. Just a couple quick hitters here. I went to my actual regular doctor the other day just for my 6-month checkup, and it was very strange in there. Very strange. I got the temperature taken 3 times while I was in there.
Yeah.
And just they were very skeeved. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like social distancing was very much in effect, and it was just weird in there.
I'm surprised they even took your appointment for no reason.
I would have been fine not going because I didn't need to go. I didn't feel like, but I got to get my AFib pills get refilled every 6 months. So I needed those.
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't hydroxychloroquine because I wouldn't be able to get it anymore, fuckers. We love Shake Shack. Small business owners like you and me, we love Shake Shack because I'm assuming their business managers suggested that they take the Small Business Administration loans, and I think Shake Shack realized this doesn't look good, and so they gave back their money.
Yes.
$10 million. People like me and Neal and Gabe who run small businesses are kind of hit or miss on being able to get our money. And then here's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse with 5,500 employees taking money out of the account and cock-blocking us. Shake Shack was one of those that also was cock-blocking us, but now they have relented, and now they're letting the cock flow. I guess that's how you'd say it. I don't know.
I would not have thought of it as letting the cock flow, but okay.
Okay. We're talking about Cal State Fullerton, which is kind of what you were saying earlier. Boise State furloughing the football coaches.
Saw that.
I know that, schools like Auburn and Ole Miss and everybody in the SEC have much bigger war chests than Boise State, but I think it is telling that Boise State's been pretty successful. I mean, at their level.
Oh, it tells you a lot about where we're going. We'll talk about it on the show, but you get asked a lot about what happens if there's no season. And the answer is, well, a lot. And very little of it is good.
You ever listen? I bet you don't do this, but I'll listen to a song and I'll just make up lyrics that are really crude, like along to the song. I was listening to the song the other day by Tevin Campbell called "Round and Round" from '91, and I just changed it to. There's like a little interlude in the middle, and he goes, "One day I'll make it in the big city, and I'll be looking for a girl who's pretty." You ever heard that song? One day I'll make a play. So I changed it. I said, "One day I'll make it in the big city, and then I'll be licking on the big old." And it just flowed right out of my mouth like I was some kind of a lyricist. I don't know. I felt really. I got a laugh out of my wife, which is good. On the chat here, Webmore wanted to know about the Jordan. I call it the Bulls 30 for 30, but he says it's the Jordan, the Last Dance.
We'll talk about that.
We need to burrow into that a little bit because you're looking right here, everybody, at the biggest Scottie Pippen fan on the planet outside of the Pippen family. I liked him, and back then I liked him more than Jordan. Not arguing that he's better than Jordan. He's not. But I love Scottie Pippen more than Jordan, and I'm tired of him being halfway vilified in that show, particularly because he was the 113th highest paid player. His fault, granted.
Oh, I didn't think he was vilified. We'll talk about that. I didn't get that impression at all.
They made him look like a crybaby little bitch is what they did. And
I didn't think so.
I didn't like it.
I didn't think that at all, but okay.
Pocket Watch says the furlough at Boise State only lasts 10 days. Okay.
And it's cyclical, like different people. It's kind of like the AL.
Yeah.
The AL.com furlough.
Are they on furloughal.com?
Well, they're rotating it. Like you're going to miss 2 weeks over the course of.
I saw where our friend Alex McDaniel was put on furlough at SB Nation.
Yeah, Alex was our guest today on Mind on My Money podcast.
Is that true?
Yeah, we talked for almost an hour.
Sweet.
She was fantastic.
Oh, I think she'd be very entertaining on that show.
She's so good. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't we be? I took my wife and I today had a little project. We took we're the last school in town to do this, but we took yard signs to the kids, and my daughter goes to a high school called Lamp here in town. The other seniors, they got signs put in their yard today, and I thought that was really cool because these seniors absolutely got screwed.
Yep.
think about all the things they've lost. I mean, look, man, they haven't died. They're not in New York City losing their family. I'm not trying to make this bigger than it is, but the seniors this year, college and high school, but more so high school, have lost a lot. And it was nice to be able to get out there and take the yard signs and put them out there. And then we have like a parent group. And within a couple hours, there were starting to be pictures popping up of the kids with the sign or whatever. And they were so happy. And I mean,
of course,
did it change their life? No. But for 1 minute, they were like, hell yeah, I'm getting some recognition here. And it made me feel really good.
Well, Caroline's a Chargerette at Oxford High School.
We love OHS.
And Caroline's a junior, and they did a parade basically for the seniors, the senior Chargerettes the other day, and they drove by all their houses and all that stuff. Oh man,
that's nice.
Yeah, I don't know about you, man, but stuff like that, I don't know, like talking about it, I get a lump in my throat. Stuff like that kind of gets me a little bit. Like I got kind of choked up about the Chargerette parade, even though I saw it when they passed by our house on their way to another house, but I don't know. It hit me on so many different kind of levels and stuff. And like I've known all those girls, for years because they've danced with Caroline. We moved here when Caroline started kindergarten. And so, I mean, I've known all these, I've known all these kids since they were just little brats. And now they're, they should have their high school graduation and they should have, they should have gotten to do their final dance and all that stuff and all those things. And those girls that have been in Caroline's dance group for all these years, should have their final recital where they get to be, spotlighted and all that stuff. That that's little stuff. And again, I like you said, and you said it right. I mean, I don't want to make it like they're losing what people people who in New York or whatever are losing, where they're losing loved ones and family members and things, but they're still losing something. They're losing something of real value.
Well, it's kicking me in the nuts too, because I keep getting these freaking alerts on my phone to soccer games that are coming up, because Courtney put them all in the phone in February when we got the schedule, and she never took them out. So we'll get, on a Monday, it'll say soccer versus Brewtech. And we saw A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood last night.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Great movie.
And I was really trying to hide this from my wife. I think I did actually, because we were watching the movie in the dark. I cried my fucking eyes out.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, I've kind of got dad issues. Not real bad, but I do. And so the film was about dad issues, among other things, and it just tore at me. And also, you don't hear this very often, but it was something that was pro journalism, because Fred Rogers was he went out of his way to be helpful to the reporter out of respect for both Esquire magazine and journalism in general, I thought, was the way it was portrayed in the film. So that was nice.
It was a great acting job. I mean, you forgot that was Tom Hanks and really thought it was Fred Rogers.
He did a good job. Last thing I could talk about, since we're just kind of going through shit because my wife's out of work and I'm home a lot, we went through some stuff that we got from her dad's house when he died. He died 2 or 3 years ago. And she found a bunch of transparencies, like these little used to do that in the 70s and 80s. Your dad would like take pictures and then get them turned into transparencies, and you would watch them on a projector. Did you ever do that?
I'm familiar with it.
Anyway, we found some that we had never seen before, and he was actually a good photographer. Bunch of really good pictures of Courtney and her family, like when you're in the 70s and 80s. I actually made one of these my lock screen on my phone because it cracked me up. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my wife, man.
Oh, that's great.
She's being all like tough GQ on there. Like she has like a menacing look on her face, like she's some kind of gangster or something. It's really, really funny. I'm really fired up about that picture.
Look at Courtney. That's awesome.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just like pure joy seeing those and being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was so great.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So you just want to let it rip on that?
Yeah, I think we got
all right.
You
want to lead with, do you want to get into your rant about shutting down 5 months in advance, or do you want to start there?
Yeah, we'll start there, and then that way we can end on something a little more happy. Because
Oh, you're gonna let it rip, huh?
Well, I just get a little pissy about it. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me. I don't think many people are going to disagree. I think it's a pretty rational take. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great take. All right, you ready to roll?
Yep, I had to pull up a reader.
Remember, it's
I'm ready.
Siemens. Okay.
Siemens. Yeah.
I think you called it Simeons or Simons.
I don't know. I did get it Siemens last time.
All right, good job. You're doing a help. Also, I'm drinking that Old Soul. I'm about to kill this bottle. Have you got an update from Major? How are they doing over there? Are they still making sanitizer?
They are. I think figuratively, just in the deep end, making as much sanitizer as they can. I think they're hoping to come up for air at some point. It's been really cool to see the stuff they've done. Man, they have produced hand sanitizer all over the state of Mississippi, and it's been pretty cool to watch people that you're friends with and you're partners with, like them and Blue Delta Jeans and the Crystal and some of the people that I know who have kind of done a lot of stuff just to reach out for people. The Blue Delta Jeans and the mask that they've made for first responders and stuff like that is just really remarkable. How quickly they turned their factory from making blue jeans into making masks is, man, it's really cool. It really is. It's and the same with Cathead. They turned their factory from making vodka and gin and all of that to making hand sanitizer, which is not to be melodramatic about it, but that stuff's liquid gold right now. I mean, you go to the grocery store and try to find you some hand sanitizer. Good luck. And that stuff's they're making it, and it's cool. Yeah, so
I saw some of that. They were tweeting it out maybe a week ago that they had they were giving it out in Oxford, I believe it was.
Yeah, they were up here.
I wanted some of that
a few days ago. Yeah, I did too.
I think we know somebody we could probably get some from.
I think so. I feel bad. Like, hey, can you send me some free hand sanitizer?
We are gonna. I don't think it's a secret that we're gonna be back with Cathead here very shortly.
Yeah, it's the deal's done. We just we're waiting for them to kind of like I said, come up for air so we can get back to we'll advertise their goods.
Yeah, and I just drink them. I like to drink. So I mean,
don't drink the hand sanitizer, Jay.
No, I don't ever get that far down. But this Old Soul, it's good, man. It's kind of it's got a nutty taste to it that I don't know. The first time you taste it, it might hit you a little wrong unless you're a big Beam drinker, because Beam has that nutty taste too. But after you get a little used to it, as I have working my way through this bottle, it's pretty damn good, bro.
I really like the second batch better than the first. The second was really good.
This is not the most clever name though. Old Soul. It's a really clever
It's
name.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, so I had the first batch. This is batch 1. So you're saying batch 2 tastes a little bit different?
I liked the second batch a little better, and I liked the first batch, but I thought the second batch just had, I don't know, I just liked it better. I don't know. We can, next time we get Major and them on, we can talk about it.
Word.
All right, you ready?
Well, hell yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome into Greatest Pod in the South, presented by Automation and Control Systems, LLC. ACS is owned by Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi. Established in 2013, ACS is a complete electrical control systems solution provider and a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. ACS has a full-time, dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL 508A panel shop. They can custom tailor software packages, custom design electrical control panel solutions, and much more. It's a full-service AutoCAD services provider and a full-service fiber optic cabling solution provider. If you're in need of custom HMI and SCADA solutions or large horsepower VFD specialist, ACS has you covered. ACS can service and install Rockwell Automation, Allen Bradley, Siemens, ABB, Square D, and many other manufacturers. For more information or to get in touch with ACS, go to www.acsllcms.com. Again, acsllcms.com, or call 662-601-4381. Clay's fantastic people. I mean, his wife Whitney sponsors my mailbag every Wednesday on rebelgrove.com. She's a fantastic real estate agent. Clay's terrific at what he does, cares about people, and he's going to be one of these people that come in on the other side of this. His service is going to be required by a lot of people. You and I have talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if we talked about it on the show or off or both or whatever. I know I've talked about it with a lot of people. One of the challenges that's going to face our country on the other side of this, period, whether you're Republican, Democrat, somewhere in between, this is undeniable. We are going to have to become less dependent on China and other countries. We're going to have to start manufacturing more of our own goods. we're going to have to become more self-sufficient. This is something that has happened under Democrat leadership, under Republican leadership. It's not a partisan thing. It's a truthful thing. And people like Clay are absolutely going to be leaders in getting past that. There's no doubt about it. They know what they're doing. And you know, it's funny, Jay, when we first started with Clay, I would read that ad. I'd be like, what in the hell are we talking about? And now the more I hear about it, the more I think, oh, yeah, he's going to be the guy that people like him are going to be in big time demand, because there's going to be a lot of manufacturing jobs created in this country as we become more less dependent on China. And I mean, I don't mean that as an anti-China thing, although I could get started on that. It's just it's a fact. It's just a fact. We have to become more resourceful as a country, and you hear that a lot, and it's true. And people like Clay are going to be at the forefront of that.
Word.
I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. The next time you think you're in the market for a vehicle, just call Corey. Do us a favor. Call Corey. Get a quote. That's all you got to do. At the very least, it's going to help you stop from kind of getting messed over by somebody else. And at the most, you're going to say, it's pretty good. And you're going to hop into a Clark Ford. You're going to love it. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He will prove that to you when you make the call. 662-257-1900. Jay, how are you, sir?
What up, Neal? It's great to see you. We are without Gabriel today because Gabriel was doing some other stuff, and it's my fault we didn't tape on Sunday. There was weather coming through. I think some of my friends in Mississippi, they get it like 3 or 4 hours before we get it here, but power was flickering and just weren't really feeling that on Sunday, and so we're a little late, and that one's on me. So yeah. One thing I wanted to tell you, this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me, though. I was doing a show. We were doing a video show on Saturday night back when the skies were clear here still in Montgomery. And my daughter found out while I was on the show that she had gotten another scholarship to South Alabama. You know, they kind of roll in. She's applied for like 6, and they kind of roll in. Well, she got another one, and I was like, yes, baby. I love it when the scholarships start adding up. Just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it feels so good, man.
It's just money rolling in.
We may get to a point where we're not paying a whole lot at all, like maybe 0. Or maybe we get paid. I don't know. We'll figure it out there at the end. But that's a really good feeling, dude. I know it's one that you know. But
no, we had to pay a little, but Campbell did well. She got some scholarships, and we worked on some things, and you know, she Campbell did very well on the ACT. I was proud of her, but her score is not quite as high as Maddie's there. Maddie kicked that ass on the ACT.
She did good work. But I'll tell you that I don't really know Campbell personally. I don't know Caroline personally at all. Your son I hung out with a little bit, but he's young. But I do know that Laura, the mother, the very, very sharp lady. So I'm sure your kids are going down that road.
She's very smart.
I can't really say that they're taking after you, McCready.
No, they're not. Thank God.
I don't know if they're crazy ranting and raving like their daddy is. But anyway, you mentioned Clay and Whitney earlier. Obviously, 2 of the most awesome. Do they live in Baldwin, or is that just where they're working?
No, that's where they are, in the Tupelo area. Yeah, I'm not positive exactly where they.
I know we're not asking for GPS locations.
Where they reside, but he works in Baldwin, and she sells Tupelo to Oxford, that whole corridor, for lack of a better word.
I like it up there, man. My experiences in Tupelo have been wholly awesome, with the exception of the one time I got way too drunk and ended up going to an Ole Miss game in the morning. It was 11 a.m. kickoff, and I was still drunk from the night before. That didn't go so well, but I can't really blame that on Tupelo or Pontotoc or Oxford. That's JG problem. So
yeah, it'd be kind of hard to blame. It'd be kind of hard to blame the city of Tupelo for that.
Well, there was a little bar that we hit called Ivy's, which is gone now. It was in downtown Tupelo. Maybe just a little bit on the Pontotoc side of downtown, so to speak. But, yeah, we got tore up. It was the night the Cardinals won one of their World Series. I know it's a night you'd like to forget. But
the Cardinals have won the World Series?
Yeah, I think so. Was there with Chucky. Our friend Chucky Galena used to be Auburn's basketball spokesperson, now works at University of Memphis. And he was very, very excited. He's a lifelong Cardinals fan, and it was fun. So we got really drunk, and then I don't know if everybody does this, but like when you're hungover, super hungover, I get really hot. Like I just feel like my body's too hot.
Yeah.
And then I showed up at Ole Miss at 11:30 kick, and the daggone press box, at Vaught Hemingway is in the sun in the morning. So I'm sitting there like I'm already way too hot. I'm begging for air conditioning, and then the sun's just baking me, and I'm like, I have made a very bad mistake. What have I done to myself? But that's my fault.
Was it an Auburn Arkansas game? The one game that I remember the most being that way, where the sun was so blinding you couldn't see your computer, you couldn't see anything. It was in Arkansas. It was an early game in Fayetteville. I want to say it was Auburn. It had to be Auburn. Yeah, because Charles Goldberg was there, and we couldn't see our computers. You remember that? It was the sun was completely right on us. You just couldn't even work.
Yeah, I used to love Goldberg so much. You thought I was small market and Goldberg was big market, which is probably true.
Goldberg was big market.
I know. He was Birmingham. He's a big deal.
He was a big deal.
I know, but I mean, who's here for you now? Is it Goldberg?
I know.
I don't see Goldberg right now. Goldberg, are you here?
Charles,
where are you at, brother? I haven't. You know what? I haven't seen Charles in a year.
Also, on Sunday nights, you would go home, and I was still up there because I had to be there. I stayed, and so Tuesday. Charles and I would go to dinner on Sunday nights.
Well, I appreciate the invite. That's cool.
We always went to this Mexican restaurant. I wish I could remember the name of it.
Well, you know what else I remember? I think we've talked about on the show. I don't want to go down this road again, but we're in Albany. You guys went to New York City and didn't invite me, and it really pissed me off. But it's cool. I'm not angry about it.
You were still working, though.
I know I was still working. I was a little bit of a slut. I feel like I had to write more than you did. You wrote on more days, but it's like each day I had to write more crap. It was like the advertiser was always like, can you give me, a Bright for 1A? Can you give me a 1A story? Can you give me a Sports Front? Can you give me a notebook? And it was just like, blah, 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 blah. And then McCready would be like, got my story. I'm out. Boom. And I was like,
well, I also worked at a paper that was so pro-Alabama and anti-Auburn.
Who's this other team? Who's this other team? Oh,
it's
Auburn.
Like, so Auburn's in the Sweet 16? Whatever. Yeah. Just write a couple of paragraphs.
Are you? Can you cover Alabama spring football as the number 3 guy, or do we have to cover the Sweet 16? One of these days, Mobile's going to cover the South Alabama Jaguars in a big way too. One of these days.
Oh, look at that. I also was at that point in my career, at least, I was a much faster writer than you.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
And so we were done. I mean, what I remember about that day was Goldberg. I'd never been to the city, and Goldberg looked at me and said, "You want to go to New York?"
Didn't even ask me though, man. I can't. And it's not even so much you; it's Goldberg. He should have asked me.
I mean, I didn't know what all that entailed, and I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And so,
yeah.
So we went.
You guys were like on the same team at that time. It was like a little. I don't know if you call it an advance thing. I mean, you guys are owned by the same company.
Yeah, Newhouse owned both papers.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And I was working for Gannett. I recently, so Gannett was the company I worked for, and they're known throughout the newspaper industry as really sucking. They're not necessarily the worst, but they're in the bad group. You were working for a company that I thought was in the good group, for whatever it's worth. So anyway, I'm on a Facebook group now, which is ex-Gannett employees, and I'm telling you, man, they are some pissed off people. I mean, these are people who have been out of Gannett for 15 years, and they're still livid, and I love it. I just eat it up. Makes me so happy to hear their stories of just anger and incompetence.
Newhouse is no longer, correct?
Right. I think it got bought by a different company or folded into it. Gannett got bought, although they still operate under the name Gannett.
They shouldn't.
I know. They're in trouble. I think their market cap now is like $5. I don't.
There was, like, we talked about Alex McDaniel earlier. I don't think we were on the show yet. We were talking in the pre-show. People like her, when the Vox thing happened, the SB Nation, all the layoffs, that got to me last week, man. All those different people in journalism that lost their jobs, and I just kind of furloughed. They didn't lose their jobs. They'll come back, I think, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
But that kind of it hit me. It's like hit right in the gut. Just, I kept thinking, because when I took this job in 2008 at rebelgrove.com with Rivals, I can't tell you how many people told me, man, you're throwing your career away.
Who told you that?
Oh, dude, the list was so long.
It better not be that Bammer guy down in Mobile that was trying to give you trouble.
Oh, there were people down there that laughed at me. Like, oh, yeah, we ran you off. And it was like, God, man, I got a family to feed. I got stuff to think about. But I thought it too. I mean, I remember taking this job and thinking, what did I do? Why did I do this? And now I think, thank God I did it. I mean, Because if I'd stayed in Mobile for any length of time, or even if I'd taken 2 or 3 of the kind of jobs that I think would have been offered if I had pursued them a little harder, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. It'd be tense, I'll tell you that.
Can we play a little game? This is just for me. I mean, I know we're not on the air or anything. I'm gonna say some names of people in Mobile that may or may not have had a close connection with you, and I would like for you to tell me honestly if you would like to kick them in the balls or you'd like to give them a hug. Okay?
Okay, sure.
All right, John Cameron. I think he's passed away, but John Cameron, if he were alive, would you like to kick him in the nuts or hug him?
Hard.
Kick him in the nuts really hard.
Really hard.
Okay. Randy Kennedy.
I'd probably kick him in the balls.
Okay. I think I would too. I don't know why. He really pissed me off one time. I was talking about going to Mobile. They had offered me a job somewhere in the 2008 range. And
maybe to replace me, huh?
I feel like it was one more person after you, but I don't remember.
Okay.
And I wanted to go, but I didn't want to move to Mobile because I remember how much the toll of that trip driving from Mobile to Auburn, which is a really long way, it took on you and your family.
225 miles.
I
can't tell you how many times that I said to them, just move me to Auburn. Move me to Auburn. I'll be fine. I'll do the job better. I'll be happier. I can see my kids. I can work more. I'll be there more often.
I can remember in the summer, I'd be like, what are you up to, McCready? He'd be like, I'm at a freaking Bay Bears game. And I was like, yeah, this really needs coverage, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was their thing was, well, no, we think you need to be part of the community. But I'm not here, ever. And so, and then I'd get there, and they'd give me 2 weeks of Bay Bears duty. And so I would say to them, if the Bay Bears matter this much to you, do this. Move me to Auburn, and then in the summer, bring me down to Mobile for 2 weeks.
It would still only be like 2 or 3 weeks, right? Yeah.
And I'll come into the office during the day, and I'll go cover the Bay Bears at night, and we can have whatever meetings we need to have or whatnot, and then I'll go back home. I mean, duh. I think what frustrated me about Kennedy, and the reason I'd probably kick him in the balls, is when they ultimately did that, they acted like it was their idea. And it's like, wait, hold up. I've said this so many times. Well, I know, but we really need you to be a part of the community. I'm like, man, I got that too. I leave on Friday afternoon. I get back on Wednesday with laundry to do. My wife hates me. I'm depressed. What in the? I got to mow the yard. I don't see my dogs. What are you talking about? I mean, this is insane.
They didn't care.
And then they'd talk about, and then I would even tell them, you'll save money because all these driving hours, I'm charging you for them. And so, those were hours that were on the clock. I mean, if I drove from Mobile to Auburn, I was on the clock.
That's stupid.
It was so stupid. It showed just how stupid some of those people were. I think, what was his name? John Marshall and Dewey English and some of those people who acted like they were.
Was he the managing editor at the time? Kind of like he had kind of a military era about him?
I can't remember. He thought he was something. All those people screw him.
So they offered me the job, and he basically gave me the same money I was going to make in Montgomery, which is like
Was it Mike Marshall?
No, that's a different dude. So they offered me the same money I made in Montgomery, and I'm like, there's no way I'm moving to Mobile. I have to pay to go down there.
Yep.
I don't want to do that. So I told Randy, I was like, I'm going to need at least, some kind of a substantive raise just to go. And he goes, I think you're bullshitting me. I think you're not being honest with me about the money that you're making at the advertiser. I'm like, I told the guy I made like $50,000. And he thought that was abnormally high. So I was just like, if you think I'm full of poop right now, we should not be working together. And he was like, okay. And then that was it. And I was fine because I was like, I'm telling the guy the truth and he's calling me a liar, so I don't want to work for him. Anyway, this John Marshall cat, who's the man, I think he was the managing editor of the paper. When I went in to interview,
it sounds right.
He said, our offer is going to be $52,500 per annum. And I was like, what are you speaking to me in old English? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I was really put
out
off
a Tigers jersey.
Just stop. So I ended up not working at the Mobile Press Register, and that was
That's
probably
a good
for
call.
the best.
That's a good call.
All right, we're moving on now. Lee Shervanian. Hug or kick?
No, I mean, I'd probably give him a hug. Bless his heart. He's just an old grandfatherly type person. I would feel bad kicking him in the balls.
But would you like it if he was like 50? Would you do it?
No, okay. I never had a problem.
He was in the same team as you, right? Though, right? Did he work with you at the same station?
Oh yeah. We
like
never worked. We never worked together, but he was the morning guy.
Morning guy. Okay. Mark Heim. Did you have an opinion on him?
Mark's one of my good friends,
okay.
man.
I like Mark too. I worked with Mark back in the late '90s, and he's one of my favorites too. But he still works there, right?
He's still there. Mark was kind of my when I would leave. I got to where I would go to an Auburn basketball game and drive home afterwards. I just wanted to get home, and I would call Mark from the car, and we would talk for 2 hours.
Someone on the chat here, All Hydraulics, wants to know Don Hawes, hug or kick?
Neither.
Oh, middle of the road.
Yeah, I'm fine. I worked with Don some. He was fine.
I had a really good party night with Don. I had a couple really good ones with Don Hawes. I don't think he loves me, but he's a funny dude. But his wife, whose name I believe is Stacy.
Stacy, yep.
Now, I had a lot of fun with her. She is a party animal. Yes, this was at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, 2005, I think. There was a lot of stuff going on in that bowl trip. I have never had so much debauchery in like a week. I seriously think about all the things that happened.
The Cotton Bowl is a great bowl to cover from a riding standpoint because they get you so drunk.
Let's go through all the things that happened during the Cotton Bowl, okay?
Okay.
Don Haas told our cabbie that Bradley Handwerker, you may remember him who covered for the Decatur Daily. He told our taxi driver that he would renounce Judaism if he would just let us out of the car. That happened. We watched a guy get degloved on his thumb doing an electric horse, like those bull riding horses things. He got the skin of his thumb pulled off doing that.
Oh, my God.
There were like 8 people in line before that happened, and then everybody was like, nope, I'm out. We've had enough. Let's see. I saw somebody who I thought was actually going to maybe possibly get a coach's wife to go home with him. I don't want to say the coach's wife because the coach is doing some other things now. I drank a beer with Greg Knox, who I didn't know even drank. My wife brought me a really pretty girl to say, hey, don't you think this girl's really pretty?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. That was weird. That was the last time Philip Marshall drank. My friend Philip Marshall, that covers Auburn now for Auburn Undercover, has been a friend of yours and mine for more than 20 years. He got absolutely lit that night in the little bar, and he pledged to never drink again, and he hasn't.
Has he not drank since then?
Nope, that was the last night he ever got drunk. No joke. So a lot of weird things going on the beat. Oh, that's also Joe Medley stalled up the freaking head in our. We were at the Cowboys game. They were playing the Lions, and we went to the game at the Cowboys Stadium in Irving, the old one, and we had a suite. And the first thing that happened was Joe Medley, our friend from the Anniston Star, went in there and blocked up the toilet, which he was known to do. But it was right there in the middle of the game, and the toilet's overflowing. We got a problem in the damn bathroom because of Joe Medley. And we got a ride from the hotel to the stadium in a freaking Hummer limo with a police escort just to get a bunch of us scrub reporters into the stadium. It was awesome.
They did that for us, if I recall, for a Mavericks game. We saw the Mavericks play somebody, and they had us a suite. They had us a suite, escorted us. It was fantastic.
Georgia Rebel asks, did I eat olives with Stacey Hawes? No, I reserve that only for the absolutely top tier, like Laura McCready.
Olives.
Wow. That was a weird deal there. What was the name of that place that we were eating at?
St. Leo.
St. Leo, yeah. I saw that when I was in Oxford last time. I was like, I think I ate olives right there.
You did. Do you remember when Don got his leg broken by the camera?
That
was bad.
I wasn't there, but it still affects him. Yeah.
I was there.
It's been 10 to 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was still working there.
Our friend Don Hawes, as Neal mentioned, who was a radio personality with you, he was later a TV guy in Birmingham, and now I think he's out of the business. I think he does something else, but he got run over by the cam that goes along the sideline for like the television, for like the broadcast.
It was a CBS game at Bryant-Denny. Yep.
And he got run over.
Yeah.
And his leg was crushed.
Yeah, bad hurt.
And still doesn't walk right. Like, you can tell. I mean, he walks like he's 70 years old. You know, he's kind of, I don't know if he's got a hip problem or what's going on, but he did get a settlement. Although, even when he was drunk, I was really trying to work him and his wife about, hey, man, so what did Don end up getting out of that? And they were like, not talking about it.
Yeah, he got a settlement, right?
Yeah, he said it wasn't like, all he ever said was it wasn't like end of life money. It wasn't like, $10 million or something.
Yeah. So who else is on your list there?
Oh, the Mobile people?
Yeah.
Well, how about any of those scrubs that run that radio, like the boss out there? I don't know who that person's name is.
Yeah, I'd kick him in the balls as many times as I could get away with it.
What's his name?
Ken Johnson. I'd kick him square in the balls.
Does he still do the job there?
Oh yeah, and I'd tell him to his face that I'd kick him in the balls.
Did he ever call you a bad name?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what he said about me. The way he treated me. Although I should thank him, because otherwise I'd still be stuck there, or would have been stuck there longer. So I should probably say thanks.
And Taylor, Taylor Zarzer. I mean, you're still friends with him, right?
Yeah, Taylor's a dear friend.
Taylor, I don't think he remembers me, because he did an Auburn game, and I was like, "What's up, Taylor?" And he was just like, "Hey, I'm Taylor." I was like, "Right here."
Yeah,
buddy.
no. Taylor's dear friend. His family is close to family for me.
There was one more I wanted to. Oh, Isaac Vasquez.
You know what? I've caught up with Isaac over the years. I saw him in Kansas City when Ole Miss played in the NCAA tournament. I've talked to him. He has a podcast. He's in Missouri or Kansas City. I don't know. He's somewhere. And
those are one and the same, Neal.
Yeah, and I did his podcast.
Really?
It was yeah. We talked about stuff.
So Isaac was Neal's producer, right, back in the day.
Yeah, he was my producer.
And then when you got fired or quit, I don't remember what the specifics were. They still asked me to be on the show. And anybody with a brain should have known we're not going to have JG on, because JG is loyal to Neal. So Isaac asked me to be on the show, and I was like, okay, I'll go on, I guess. And so I went on the show, and I answered a few questions, and then I basically went on a rant about how they shouldn't have fired you and you're the best thing they ever had, and I hung up. And Isaac was really pissed off at me, and he let me know how he felt about it. And I had liked Isaac to that point, and I feel a little bit bad because he may have taken some shit for that. But when you're working for the bad guys, that's your fault, buddy.
They did me the wrong way. That's not the way you fire somebody after 6 years.
Hell no.
And the irony of why I got fired there is really hilarious. Because I said on a Monday show, it was a week where it was Saban's first year at Alabama. I've said this before. I did 6 years of radio in Mobile, and Auburn went 6-0 in those Iron Bowls. I didn't play in those games. Okay,
that's the terrible news for Ken Johnson, isn't it?
I didn't play in those games. I wasn't a part of that. But on that particular Monday, Alabama had gotten smoked by Mississippi State, and Auburn had gone to Athens, I think, and gotten popped. And on that Monday, CBS had a window for their rivalry weekend games, and CBS had a doubleheader, and they didn't take Alabama-Auburn that year. They took Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida State instead of Alabama-Auburn. And I opened the show with, look, I know we're getting ready for the Iron Bowl stuff, and we're going to hype it, and we're going to talk about it. And it's a big game in the state. I get it. This one year, though, one thing we're not going to do, we're not going to be disingenuous and say this is the biggest game in the country, because this year it's not.
It's provably not true, yeah.
And I said, in fact, CBS said it's not even the third biggest game in the SEC. And then I said, Alabama plays ULM Saturday. I said, Nick Saban's going to win at Alabama. He's going to win big at Alabama. But Nick Saban has lost this team. This team doesn't care. And Saturday is a losable football game for Alabama. That's what I said.
And that was it.
They were playing ULM, and I said, ULM will be ready for Alabama. They will play Alabama, and if Alabama doesn't play well, it's a winnable game for ULM. And on Wednesday, they fired me. No notice, no chance to say goodbye to listeners, nothing. And then on that Saturday, Jay, I flew to Houston because I had to cover Saints, Texans in Houston on Sunday at noon. and I got to Houston, and when I landed, I turned my phone on, and my phone was blowing up in a way that was odd. I was like, oh my God, what in the world? And ULM was putting the final touches on a 21-14 win over Alabama. So the great irony of it is, if Ken Johnson had a pair of balls, but he didn't because he's an Alabama booster who probably helped buy players for Alabama. Had he had a pair of balls and just kept his mouth shut and told it was McConnell and Elliott Maisel and some of those cats, big Alabama boosters, had he told them just to, hey, chill out, let's let the season end. On that Monday, it would have been a completely different show, because I would have basically predicted the ULM win over Alabama that day.
How about that?
And I said Alabama was going to win big, and Alabama was going to win really big under Saban, but that it wasn't happening this year because he had lost that team, which was completely factual. But because that upset Terry Thompson and Elliott Maisel and Mitch McConnell and some of those other cats down in Mobile,
yep.
They applied a little pressure, and so he did the deed. And frankly, that station's never been the same since. If I'm being completely honest, I do a lot of the humility stuff, but I was the best radio guy at that station, and everybody knows it.
Damn. All right. It would be hard for you to kick him, as Georgia Rebel points out on the chat, it would be hard for you to kick Ken Johnson in the balls because Ken doesn't have balls. So I guess he would just be like a eunuch that you would just kick right there in the pelvic bone, and that would be enough.
I guess at that point I would just kick him in the teeth. That'd be more pleasurable.
Okay. I could say pretty honestly that I don't have anybody in my career that I would really want to just choke out.
Yeah, that's been my only just terrible experience. I mean, I've had your typical journalism experiences. Like, I remember leaving the Birmingham Post-Herald to go to Mobile, and Chet Fussman, who is now at the Florida Times Union, or at least he was for a while, was like, "Oh, you're making a big mistake." And then, of course, Chet left 2 months later too. I was like, "Dude, come on! The Birmingham Post-Herald is going out of business any day now. I can't stay here."
I couldn't. You enlisted me to see if I could even get a subscription to the Post-Herald. And when I called the Post-Herald line,
they wouldn't take us up.
They tried to get me to take the news. They would. Yeah. I called the paper, and they wouldn't even take a subscription.
Yeah, no, it was, and they were. I mean, I'll always be indebted to that paper because they gave me a really big shot. But it's time to go. I mean, you can't be loyal to something that's not going to be loyal to you.
Speaking of not being loyal, Mr. McGreepy, we spotted you on the Twitters the other day denouncing DIRECTV for their grubbiness and for their inability to take care of you as a customer that's been with them a long, long time. Can you give me like a 90-second version of your grievance with DIRECTV and why you're never going back?
Yeah, here's my grievance with DIRECTV. I've been a customer for 20 years.
Get him, Neal. Get him.
They continue to charge me for the Major League Baseball extra innings package.
They're not playing.
And I continue to call them and say, listen, if there were a baseball season, I'm good with it. But there is no baseball season. There very likely will not be a baseball season. And you're taking $40 and charging me for it every month. And I keep asking you about it. And you continue to tell me, oh, yeah, we'll refund that money. Or don't pay. The last line was, don't pay it and we'll just subtract it. And I said, fair enough. And then they sent me a hey, we're going to cancel your service in 3 days. You're late. And you tell them, no, I'm not paying that $40 or whatever it is because there is no season. They're not playing Major League Baseball. And what I told them was, finally, you cats need to get this figured out, because in the event that there is no NFL season or it doesn't start on time, and you charge people for NFL Sunday ticket because of some auto renewal, and then there's no pro football, for every one person who subscribes to MLB extra innings, what are there, 30 that subscribe to NFL Sunday ticket?
Yeah.
Man, you better get that right.
They made a conscious decision, didn't they? Within their corporate structure, hey, we're going to continue to charge for MLB extra innings and just see how many people pick it up.
Yeah, and here's their gamble, Jay. They were gambling that people wouldn't look at their bill.
But we know that that's probably happening, right? I mean, you wised up, and there's other people. I know Ryan Brown from WJOX in Birmingham, one of our friends, caught it as well, and he's had his own issues with that. But how many people really are letting it just go and being like, I don't know, I'm not really checking? Probably a lot, right? It's a dirty play,
of course.
Andrew B on the chat says they changed complete 180 degrees when they got bought out by AT&T. So,
True.
DirecTV had that heritage of actually being really cool to work with and being a fair company, and now it's almost like there's something different, and
it's totally different since AT&T took over. Back in the day, if you had a problem, you could call DirecTV, and man, you got great customer service. It was awesome. I mean, weather happens, right? Stuff happens, and they can't control that. But you would say, hey, I think my satellite got knocked off, and they would tell you all these things to kind of fix it or whatever. And now, I mean, you can't get someone in America.
No, I'm actually on cable. Believe it or not.
Why?
I never thought I would be back on cable, but I am. The long story short on the cable is that it was just easier for this house to take cable. It just made sense. We just moved into a new house like a year ago, and it just made more sense. And so we actually use a pretty sparse package here, and we do a lot of stuff. We obviously stream a lot of stuff. A lot of people have gone completely streaming now.
Yeah.
We don't. We still take the cable and stuff, but we get pretty much basic stuff. And anything I really want to watch on there, it always says, you must upgrade to get this. And I'm like, boom, not doing it. But, yeah, I like it, too, because, as you mentioned, when you're on satellite and there is weather rolling through, a lot of times you lose it, at least when the front first comes through.
Right.
And so you lose the satellite for, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 minutes. It can be a very frustrating 3 to 10 minutes. And then in cable, that doesn't happen. So that's nice. That's nice. But anyway, so you're pissed about that. They were trying to bamboozle you for like $40 a month for the next 4 months. And
yeah,
you called BS on it, and they still didn't want to play fair with you, right?
They still haven't fixed it. Yeah, they don't want to fix it. They don't. I can't get anybody on the phone who even understands what it is I'm talking about.
So are you going to EchoStar now, or Dish Network, or?
No, I don't know what we're gonna do. We got to figure it out. I mean, the problem is, you go through the process of having to get all. It's a pain in the ass, to get rid of all of it and send it all back. And I don't know. I've been told by multiple people I need to call their loyalty program. That if I call their loyalty program, that they'll take care of me, especially because I've been there for 20 years and I've always subscribed to all these sports packages. I mean, I've been a sucker, let's face it, for 20 years. So you ought to you want to keep me on as a sucker, and maybe you ought to throw me some perks. And so, at the very least, I just want the $40 taken off my bill. And then if they play baseball, we'll figure it out. But if they don't play baseball, as someone who loves Major League Baseball, if they don't play baseball and I'm paying to watch baseball, that's like a double.
No, it is. It's bad.
It's like if you're a diehard Florida fan and they still charge you for the season tickets and then there's no season, well, it hurts twice.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's just you just don't do it. It's not smart.
I would be unhappy if I were in your position.
So speaking of that, Jay,
yes,
while we're ranting, let's do this.
Here we go. Here it comes.
So I've been podcasting all day today. This is my 5th podcast of the day.
I cannot believe that. I was going to give you the day off, but we felt like we needed to go ahead and get it, right?
Yeah. I wanted to go ahead and do it. There are people that want this podcast, and I enjoy this podcast, and Clay McNutt and the people at ACS,
of course,
have paid us to do this podcast, so we should do it. You were telling me about Cal State Fullerton. You said, "Hey, did you hear about Cal State Fullerton?" I'm like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about because I've been working all day." They finished a bottle of Old Soul. We got to get
down.
Got to get Major and the people at Old Soul to send you another bottle.
He sent me plenty.
Okay, I gotta get on that list. You were telling me about Cal State Fullerton making an announcement today on April the 21st. So go ahead and fill in the nice people out there.
Yeah, I mean, I just read this in the LA Times, so I can't go into a lot of detail on what happened specifically. But Cal State Fullerton announced today that they've committed to going online for the fall semester 2020. So the freshmen from wherever, suburban Los Angeles or wherever they're going to Fullerton from, are now going to be doing their first semester of college from home. And I feel like this is way too far out to be making those kinds of decisions. We're talking about something that's going to go down in the California schools. I don't think they start until September. They didn't when I was a kid. I mean, obviously things have changed because I'm an old man now, but let's say that even if it's the middle of August, I mean, it's April 21st, guys. We got May 21st, June 21st, July 21st. I mean, we're 4 months out, and you're going to tell me now you're going to commit to being online until January 2021. It's a little far out, McCready.
Yeah, I don't understand it. So yesterday we got a letter. As you know, my daughter Campbell, we've talked about Campbell a lot here. She's a freshman at the University of Arkansas, and we got a letter from the people at Arkansas, specifically from the chancellor at Arkansas. And he said, as part of this long email to students and parents of students, he said, while we're starting to hear news of the virus peaking in some areas, we still have a way to go before we can return to normal operations at the university. Our plan and our hope is to be fully open in the fall, of course, but planning is important. We have begun the process of contingency planning for the fall semester, and we would like to, at the very least, have options on the table by June 1st to consider moving forward. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's responsible. That tells me, hey, look, the plan is to have a regular fall semester, but this thing's out there, and we've got to make contingency plans. That's our job, and we're going to take our time, and in June we'll get back to you. Cool.
That's fair.
All good. All good. Not necessarily what I want to hear as the father of a student who was thriving there and wants to go back very badly and misses her friends. But I understand, and I'm good with that. But there seems to be, Jay, and I feel my voice going, there seems to be this rush to see who can be first to overreact. Who can be first to say, oh, no, we are shutting down. We are moving the goalpost yet again from, hey, we got to flatten the curve. Got to flatten the curve. I understood that. I was good with that. Got to flatten the curve because if we overrun the health system, that's chaos. I get it. We overrun the hospitals in our country, total chaos. I understand. Yeah. I understand. And if that means that we have to shut down a college basketball season, a college baseball season, okay. Unfortunate. I hate it. We talked about high school graduations and all of those things. I hate it for all the kids, their families. I hate it. But I get it. But it's now gone from, okay, we have to flatten the curve to we have to eradicate the virus.
Yeah. Big difference.
Well, and that's when I say, hold up, time out, hold up. Because it kind of looks like, if you read some of the studies, that there's been a lot of exposure from people to the virus who never knew they had the virus. And they have antibodies for the virus. It also appears that the kill rate, and I'm not minimizing any loss of life is tragic because there's somebody out there and multiple people out there that love the people that die.
Of course.
They lose a loved one and that's tragic. And I don't want to minimize that in any shape, form, or fashion. But there's a big difference between a kill rate of 3.5% and a kill rate of, say, 0.2%. There's a big difference. There just is. One is, oh gosh, and one is, I'm not comparing it to the flu, but the kill rate's similar to that. And if that's the case, then you have to start having a different strategy moving forward. And I'm not one of the people that holds the models responsible. I'm cool. Again, you have to at the beginning overreact as opposed to underreact. If you underreact and then it's bad, well, you have a catastrophe on your hands.
Yeah.
But if you overreact and then see that, hey, we overreacted, let's fix our strategy. I'm good with that. That's smart. And this whole thing in April, on April the 21st, announcing, oh yeah, schools are. The UConn president did this today, and then he had to backtrack like a SEC corner. You know, hey, everything's canceled, and then no, we haven't made any decisions. Just wait. Slow down. There's no reason to make this call on April the 21st. Let's wait and see. Laura made a great point yesterday. And we were sitting outside, and she said, we were reading that about from Arkansas. And she said, think about how much more we know today, how different it is today than it was that night that, the SEC tournament got stopped. That night that Rudy Gobert tested positive in Oklahoma City, right? when everything just stopped.
He was joking about it.
Yeah, when everything just stopped. Think of how much more we know today than we knew then. Well, that was 5.5 weeks or so ago. So what might we know in 5.5 weeks from right now? We might know so much in 5.5 weeks from right now that it's easy to make a decision. And maybe that decision is indeed to go online only. I don't know, but there's not enough evidence right now to support that.
Well, they can come back on that. Let's just hope they can. I'm sure they can. I mean, I don't think they're fully committed to it. They said this is our plan. Things might change. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, maybe
I am terrified as the father of a class of 2020 high school graduate who has chosen South Alabama, who has already met her roommate. They've gotten to be buddies already. Her roommate's from Illinois. Really fired up about living together and all the things that go with being a freshman in college. Those of you who've gone to college, you know how much fun it is. Man, I had a great time my freshman year. You just get away from home, and I mean, it's just an awakening, It's a totally different world. God, I'm so hoping my daughter gets a chance. She's already lost her high school graduation. She's lost prom. She's lost senior night on the soccer field.
Yep.
Whatever else she's lost. Her big honors day where she gets commendations for all the crap she did, academically, all the AP classes and whatnot, honor societies, which really, they didn't mean shit to me when I was in high school, but it's a big deal to her, and she's really hurting because of that. Please at least let her get a college. At least let her have that. And, I mean, Campbell's facing this, too, in a different way. And I mean,
sure.
Her whole life is rooted in Fayetteville right now. I mean, her current day life, and she needs to get back there. It's good for her.
Yeah, it's good for her. All of her friends are there. Yeah. Not all of her friends, but most of her friends are there. She's
where her
got
new life is.
She's got a room assignment at the Kyo house, and she's excited about. She got her classes today for her fall semester of her sophomore year, and it was funny because she said the other day, we were joking about football and stuff, and she didn't go to many Arkansas games, and everybody would make jokes about how bad Arkansas was or whatever, and she went to the Texas A&M game in Dallas, and she went to the Ole Miss game here. She came home and went to the Ole Miss Arkansas game in Oxford, but she only went to a couple of the games in Fayetteville or whatnot. Everybody was like, well, they sucked and blah blah blah, and she said, you know what? If we get to go back and they play and we get to go, I'm going. I don't care how bad we are. And I was like, good for you, because what difference does it make? Go to the games, cheer for your team. If they win, great. If they lose, so be it. It's all right, But I'm hoping that on the other side of this, that there's a maybe for a little while. I know it'll disappear, but maybe for a little while there will be this appreciation, or man. Like I don't know who Auburn opens up with or whatever, but when people go to the game, there's I hope the Tigers win and all that. But, man, how cool is it that we get to be here and we get to watch the eagle fly and we get to say our cheers and all that stuff. And you know what? How cool is it that the other team's here too? And maybe for just a little while we can just be a little kinder and a little gentler for just for a few weeks. And, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that on the flip side of this, people are just kind of nicer to one another.
That'd be sweet. I would love it if that were the case. I pledge to be nicer myself, although I've gotten nicer, and you have too. You've made more progress than just about anybody I know. So I've already commended you about 15 times on the show. It gets old, but you have made more personal progress. No, I'm serious. You made more personal progress than any friend of mine.
But she was right. I mean, I was like, yeah, and that's what you should do. So what if the football team's bad? I mean, what difference does it make? I mean, Go to the games and cheer for the Hogs and do the Woo Pig Suey thingy and
WPS, baby,
and have some fun and then leave and go to the parties and have a good time and enjoy your college experience. And when it's all said and done, it doesn't matter if the football team that you cheered for won or lost. Just have a good time. Go to the basketball games. That's what she was saying. She said she went to one Arkansas basketball game. She went to the Kentucky game there in Fayetteville when Calipari got thrown out and all that stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And she's like, I wish I had gone to more games. And I'm like, well, now you learned. Next year when they play the games, go and cheer for the Razorbacks and whatever. What difference does it make? And but you're right. I mean, and Caroline, my second child, she's going to be a senior in high school next year, and I can tell she's a little nervous. It's like, hey, she said it. She said we better have a senior year where there's a football season and she can dance at the games and all that stuff, because your senior years, like Maddie's experiencing, that's different. It's different being a senior than it is a sophomore.
Sure. Also, by the way, your daughter, Campbell, she's picked the right time to start getting to the Arkansas games because I suspect Arkansas is going to start getting – they were already becoming a real pain in the ass this year after not being a pain in the ass for a while, and I think that Musselman is he's going to do some damage with that team. Just one man's opinion. I'm just going to go through a couple quick ones here because we still need to we got a couple readers we need to hit here for our friend Stacey Wall and, of course, for John Edwards, who's one of the all-time greats. I did go to my general practitioner the other day for my semi-annual visit. I was very surprised that he wanted to even do that. You know, with all the COVID going on, and I know in Montgomery there's not a lot going on necessarily, but I didn't think he'd want to see me, and I would have been fine with that. But he did have me in, and I felt very weird. There were not very many people in there. They took my temperature with the head scan 3 different times. I don't know how it could have gotten higher while I was in there, but whatever. And then we had to do the social distancing guidelines where they had the prescribed distances where you could stand, like when you're checking in. And the pencils were like, you can use the pencil once, and you got to put it in the used bin. And everybody had a mask, and I just felt very weird. I know this is kind of going to be what it's going to be like, I guess, in America. And maybe this is what it's been like a little bit in Korea or China before when they had SARS and MERS in the Middle East, but it did freak me out a little bit. And I don't like going to the doctor's office anyway, and it made it worse. My doctor, Dr. Hendon, is a total badass, though. I mean, he's always great, but I don't know. I just felt very cold and nervous in there, and it sucked. We also, me and other small business owners like McCready and our friend Gabriel, are small business owners. We love the Small Business Administration because they have our back.
Amen.
Unfortunately, I feel like some of these monies that were earmarked, the paycheck protection money that were earmarked for companies like ours, instead went to much bigger corporations. I know Bruce Chris got away with $10 million despite having 5,500 full-time employees. I don't understand how they're even involved with the Small Business Administration.
No, because they're not a small business.
They're not. But they found a loophole in it and whatever. Anyway, Shake Shack. This is a place to eat that I have not seen and I don't even know anything about. But they took the $10 million, probably
it's one of Carson's favorite places in Chicago. He absolutely loves it.
Oh, it's up. Okay, so it's a big city thing.
Yeah.
Which explains why down here in the village where I am, they don't have it. But anyway, they took $10 million, surely on advice of their financial folks who, that's what they do. But either through guilt or from just bad optics, they elected to give their money back to the Small Business Administration. They got $10 million.
Yep.
And they said, we don't deserve to have this money. We're not a small business, and we shouldn't be doing this. They gave the money back. So the next time I see a Shake Shack, I'm going.
Yep.
And also I want to say that I'm pissed off because I didn't get my money. And people like Ruth's Chris did, and I'm bitter about it. I'm not going to Ruth's Chris anymore, by the way.
Not to get into your business, did you apply for the SBA or did you apply for the PPP?
PPP.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I don't want to get too deep into this because somebody in this conversation did, but I don't want to name any names. Somebody did it the right way, and I didn't do it the right way apparently because I didn't get jack.
My accountant really advised me well from the get go.
Did you go PPP?
I did.
Okay.
I originally went SBA, and she called me on a Friday afternoon and said, if I won't go into all of it. She just said, we did it wrong. We're fixing it right now. And we did. I did it right then at her urging. And that was smart.
That was very smart. Good for her. Other things I wanted to mention just before we get to the readers. I had a chance today to take yard signs. My wife and I did. To take yard signs to the homes of fellow. My daughter goes to a school called LAMP, Loveless Academic Magnet Program, LAMP High School, and we were able to take yard signs to a handful of LAMP kids. It was, everybody got split up, and we got like 5 or 6. Went to the houses and planted, hey, this is the home of a 2020 LAMP graduate sign in the yard. And I don't know, man. It was pretty fun to do it. It was a really pretty day, and we got a chance to go out in the country a little bit where I don't really hang out very much. And I was putting them there, and I told my wife, like, I wonder if, these kids even care or whatever. By the time we got back to the house, on our we're in a group on Facebook, which is like, LAMP parents, enthusiasts or whatever. They already had 3 of the 5 kids that we went and put signs in their yard. They had already had pictures posted on social media of like, yo, look what I got. And it was like them standing in front of their I'm a class of 2020 graduate sign. And I finally, for 1 minute, got to say, that's pretty damn awesome. I'm not a hero or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was awesome to see the kids smiling and being like, I'm getting recognized for being a badass senior. I'm a badass, and somebody actually gave a shit enough to come out here and put a sign in my yard, and I'm pretty fired up about it. I was really fired up for those kids, and
I don't know any of those kids, and it kind of puts a lump in my throat. I was telling you about this in the pre-show. So Caroline, my high school junior, is a Chargerette.
OHS, I mean, of course.
OHS, the Chargerettes, and that's her friend group, of course. I mean, my God, they're so close, all those kids. And so they, what day was it? I don't know, Friday, Saturday, I can't remember. They did a parade of their cars, social distancing, of course. They decorated their cars and all that stuff, and they made signs and all that, and they went to all of the different seniors' houses. And I told you, man, I had to kind of like go someplace by myself because it just choked me up. And I kept thinking about, all those girls. Like I was telling you, we moved here when Caroline was in kindergarten, and so many of those kids that are a year ahead of her. I mean, they've been in our house so many times, and I've heard about them, and I see them on Caroline's social media and all of that stuff, and they're tight. They practiced hours upon hours upon hours for state and for nationals and for their sideline routines and for their pep rallies, and they're just tight. And for them to all get together the way that they did and support the girls who are seniors, I just thought it was really cool. I've told you this before. I'll defend this generation till I'm blue in the face. They're really good kids. They're the people that act like teenagers or whatever. They have so many more distractions and temptations and things than you and I did when we were that age, and they just handle it so gracefully, in my opinion. And this has been, think about how traumatic it's been for people like you and me. And then we're older. I mean, think about how traumatic this must be for a 17-year-old kid, for an 18-year-old kid, deep down in their core, in their heart of hearts, when they get in the bed at night. There's a part of them that thinks they do. There's a part of Maddie that thinks, whether she admits it or not, there's a part of Maddie that worries,
Sure.
Hey, will I get to go to college?
No, there's definitely a part because she tells me about it. She's pissed.
Yeah, and Campbell doesn't really say that because she just thinks positively, but I know she's worried about it, and I know Caroline's worried about it, and Carson's 13, he'll be 14 in October, and I think he's worried about it, and all the kids are worried about it. I mean, so it's I don't know, it's when to see them support one another the way that they do with the stuff that you were talking about with the signs and Caroline with the parade, it just makes me feel good. It makes me sad on one hand. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, it hit me right in the gut. I mean, I had to go kind of have a cry a little bit, but I don't know. It just, again, on the flip side of this, I think we're all, from people like you and me to kids like Maddie and my kids, I think there is going to be an appreciation that they maybe didn't have before, that I think is going to, in some positive ways, kind of change the way that we live. I mean, you talk about going forward with masks and all of that stuff. I do think there's going to be an appreciation for getting to live again, for lack of a better term.
This would have been really tough for me in the end of my senior year if this had gone down, because I had my high school girlfriend. I had a girl on the side that I was kind of working. Her name was Jenny. And then I had a chick in Muskogee that I was working too, named Jamie.
Yeah.
So
that would have really slowed you down.
It would have slowed me down, no doubt. But I'm not proud of it. I'm just being real about it. I mean, it would have really closed down that network. A couple things I want to mention from the chat. First of all, we got a super chat from Sammy N, who lives on the left coast. He said, "Good morning from OEP Nation." Hell yeah. He says, "Nice kit, JG, from a time when U.S. soccer cared about soccer in the U.S. Go, Uncle Neal." So
Thank you, Sammy.
Sammy's out there. I don't know where Sammy's at exactly, but when I mentioned that I grew up in North County, San Diego, he seemed to be what about that. Also, Leif mentioned he mentioned it's just as hard when you have kids in kindergarten. Obviously, Leif has some younger ones. He says, "I drove by my daughter's best friend today, and she was almost in tears because they announced school is done for the year where he lives." So, yeah, it's sad. I have a friend, my wife and I, one of our friends from college, Emily. She's a teacher. Actually, she's an assistant principal and a teacher in Kentucky, and they just decided to shut school down for the rest of the year, I think on Friday. And you could tell Emily and her daughter Maddie were absolutely tore up over this. I mean, they're living that life in Oldham County, Kentucky, and I'm telling you, there's more to it. I mean, for me, school's like something I used to do like 25 years ago, but these people who are living that life, who are teaching,
Sure.
whose kids are in that, it's so different. And I don't know. I'm paying more attention to it now than I would have before because I can see how it really affects these kids and these teachers too. Because I would have thought like teachers would be like, sweet, man, school's out, I'm ready to go, do
No,
whatever.
I don't think so.
No, I don't. By and large, I don't think that's what's going on at all. I think
especially the teachers that teach little kids. Those they get so close to them, and the little kids get so close to a teacher. I mean, like when you're in kindergarten, first, second grade, that kind of thing, your teacher's a big deal.
Yeah.
And if you love your teacher and your teacher's good, that teacher, man, that teacher's important. That teacher's a huge part of your life, and just to have her taken away is tough, man. I mean, you think about when it ended the way it always does, in late May, the year came to an end, and you got to have the year-end party and the pictures and all that stuff. And I can remember my kids getting emotional, about it's my last day with my teacher and all of that stuff. And, and they got a chance to say goodbye. These kids kind of didn't get that. They didn't get any closure at all. And that sucks.
Yeah, I know. When this first went down, I didn't really think about it that way. But now that I've seen how it affects Maddie, and I don't know. I look at it a lot differently.
Yeah.
Do you have any readers you got to hit? Because hell, there's lots of more. We haven't even talked about the Michael Jordan doc.
I know we got stuff to get to. This podcast also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust.
Stacey Wall.
Stacey Wall and the people at Pinnacle Trust are based in Madison, Mississippi, but they've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states as well. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. Cookie cutter financial planners put you in a box. Not Pinnacle Trust. They build a box just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN Trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on this podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fees. When this is over, you're going to want to get the hell away. You're going to want to go on vacation. You're going to want to get out of your home. You're going to want to just
hell yeah,
get out for a minute, right?
Oh yeah, I am too.
And when you do that,
guess what?
I suggest that you get in touch with John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. You want to go on a golf trip? You want to go to the beach? You want to go wherever? John can help you. He's been traveling the globe for 4 decades. He's a part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits, simply not available to other travelers. And here's the deal. Right now, there are so many travel deals out there. You talk about like the price of oil is $0. Price of gas is $0. You can get plane tickets for virtually nothing. Hotels are cheap. Now might be the time to gamble a little bit and say, hey, I think I can be able to travel by X and book something. And John can help you do that. All you got to do is you get in touch with him, give him some parameters, give him a budget, let him give you options. And know this, you don't have to live anywhere near Memphis to take advantage of his services, though it's perfectly fine if you do live anywhere close to Memphis. That's fine too. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
I'm going to look forward to taking a trip. Oh, yeah. My trip with John, who worked out through John, is definitely going to go down. It's just not going to go down when we expected. We're just going to postpone it. But, yeah, we're definitely taking that trip. So I'll keep you guys updated when that's going down. Things we other. I mean, here's the deal, McCready. So we're almost at an hour right now.
Okay.
It was where we like to, let it go, but we still have things to talk about. I mean, Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. Well, actually, it's a Bulls documentary, I should say.
It was really good, Jay.
Oh my gosh.
It was super hyped, and you can't help but think when all the hype comes that, man, it's going to have a hard time living up to the hype. It was awesome. It was so great to see that, and there was behind-the-scenes stuff that I didn't know, like about your boy Scottie Pippen. I didn't know all that stuff about his dad and his brother that got paralyzed, and I didn't know all that stuff. It was really, really well done. It made me. I can't wait for Sunday night to see more. I'm actually so excited about this weekend because we're going to get the NFL draft. And like I was saying this earlier on one of my 10,000 podcasts, I don't really care if the NFL draft is technically great. It's cool. They have some Skype issues, some Facebook Live or Zoom or whatever. It's all fine. I'm just glad we're going to get a draft. Like your boy Derek Brown's going to go in the first 10 picks, and we're going to get to see where Tua ends up, what happens with Justin Herbert, all that stuff. I'm pumped about it. And then Sunday night we get 2 more hours of Jordan and Pippen and the Bulls, and like the stuff they're going to talk about. That I don't know if you remember it, that series, Lakers and Bulls, when the Bulls won their first title.
91, right?
Yeah, 91, 92, and Magic and the Lakers. People forget how big at that point Magic and Worthy and the Lakers were at that. Yeah, AC Green, Kareem, and all those guys. I mean, the Lakers were still, they were freaking awesome. And at that point, everybody talked about Jordan and said, "Oh, he's just a scorer. He can't win championships." And then he won a championship, and then the Bulls went on to win a bunch of championships. So I'm excited about it.
A couple things about that. I am not arguing about who the better player is, but I always like Scottie Pippen better because Jordan just I got bored with Jordan. I mean, is he an awesome player? Obviously. And I think you can make a very good argument for him being the best player ever. I would probably think that. I just got bored with his, like, winning is everything attitude. It just gets boring for me, and it's like at some point you're just too cutthroat for your own good, and that's kind of how I saw Jordan. Was he awesome? Yes. Pippen, to me, was more relatable. He was a more flawed individual. He was more emotional, as we saw when he got substituted, or when they were going to set up that play for Tony Kukoc in the playoffs, and he just sat his ass on the bench, which is a weak move, granted, but it shows you that Scotty's an emotional person, and he felt like he deserved to have an opportunity to do that. He didn't get it. It's probably not the right way to handle it, but, whatever. Scottie Pippen was himself an awesome player, and something I learned from the documentary was that he idolized Dr. J growing up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't know that either.
When I think about Pippen and his dunks, he dunked a lot. He loved to have the ball high on a dunk. He would kind of come in high. And that's something that Dr. J did a lot of,
Yep.
Now, he was usually doing finger rolls and stuff, but he would still bring the ball really high. And I bet you that's where Scottie Pippen got that. I mean, he loved going down the lane with the ball high like that. So that's something that I hadn't really thought about. But I love me some Scottie Pippen now. He's an absolute beast, and I'm glad they kind of centered on him. I do think, and some of the folks in the chat, we talked about this before the show, I thought he was getting vilified a little bit on the show for being a drama queen, for holding out in that 97-98 season, delaying his ankle surgery through the summer because he was pissed off about how much money he was making.
He says, "I'm not going to F up my summer."
Absolutely. Because he wasn't getting paid a lot. He agreed in, I think, 92 or 93 for a long-term deal.
7 years, $18 million.
He made a good amount of money in the beginning, but toward the end of that contract, the other players were making a bunch more money, and he was a little salty about it, which I don't know how I feel about that. Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, was like, "I'm not renegotiating with anybody." That was his policy.
Yeah, that was wrong. He should have. Reinsdorf absolutely should have renegotiated with Pippen.
Well, I looked it up, though. Pippen said his attitude was, "I'm going to get paid." And he did. He went to the Trailblazers. Actually, went 1 year at Houston, and then he went like 5 years at the Trailblazers, and he got paid. So he made money. But his last 3 or 4 years of the Bulls, he was one of the great value plays in NBA history. I mean, he was not quite MVP, but an upper tier all-star, and they were paying him peanuts. So, yeah, he was a great value play, and I think I got to him a little bit. But that's his own fault, and I don't even necessarily think he was blaming Reinsdorf. He was
that video of him at Central Arkansas when he was just dominating was incredible. I mean, it looks like it looks like it's a grown man going up against a bunch of fifth graders. I mean, he just destroyed it. Unbelievable.
I had a chance to see somebody do that. It was JaMychal Green, who played for the Grizzlies most recently.
Yeah.
And who's been in the NBA. He played at a 1A school in Montgomery in high school. And, I mean, JaMychal at the time was 6'8", 6'9". And, I mean, he's NBA good. I mean, he's not a great player in the NBA, but he's NBA worthy.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It was unreal, dude. He was dunking on little white kids like me, And, I mean, he's just, oh, God bless. It was like PlayStation every night. So
that's fantastic.
It was fun to see that. But anyway, I love Scottie Pippen, and I'm glad that I did feel like they kind of vilified him a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong. A lot of the folks in the chat said that they didn't feel that way about it. You didn't feel that way about it.
Not at all. I thought if anything, they showed why he did it. I mean, he was this kid from a poor home, and his father had a stroke and was paralyzed, and he had a brother, I believe, that had gotten injured and was paralyzed, and he viewed it as an opportunity to secure his family and in case he got hurt or whatever. You saw where he came from in that negotiation, and frankly, some of the people around him didn't take care of him in the way that they probably should have. I thought it was interesting that Jerry Krause said that he told Scotty, I wouldn't sign this if I were you.
Interesting. Wonder if that's true. Jerry Krause is definitely vilified in this show, though.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm not sure he deserves that either. I mean, some of the flaws in his personality maybe are worth that. But, I mean, at the bottom line, he did put this together. Now, Jordan kind of fell in his lap from the previous administration. Fair enough. I mean, you're going to get a, top 5 NBA all-time player to build around, and then also a shrewd draft pick in Scottie Pippen. But he did, they got a lot of mileage out of Bill Wennington. They got a lot of mileage out of Kerr, out of the other Paxton.
Luke Longley
out of New Mexico.
Paxton, yes. People forget also, Jay, how good Tony Kukoc was. Dennis Rodman at the time was one of the elite defenders in the league. Great rebounder, didn't care about getting the ball, which made him work. Ron Harper was an elite defender. I mean, that was a really good team.
Yeah, and Kukoc, man, nowadays, I mean, I think with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, foreign guys, no big deal. Back then, man, it was unusual. Now, he wasn't the first, because for me, it would have been somebody like Rick Smits.
Arvydas Sabonis.
Sabonis is another one. The guy who died for the Nets, Drazen Petrovic.
Oh, man. Drazen Petrovic was so good.
God, he was dirty.
He was so good. That is such a loss. I mean, one of those great what ifs. It's funny. Someone tweeted it out. I can't remember, on Monday. It showed Jordan being guarded by Lenny Bias when they were in the ACC at North Carolina and Maryland. Len Bias is one of the what ifs in sports history. If Len Bias doesn't die a couple days after he was drafted by the Celtics, how different is that whole era? Because Bias was, if he wasn't as good as Jordan, he was close.
Oh, I don't know about that, but he was going to be a player.
He was going to be a great player.
And the Celtics were already loaded.
Yeah, he was going
loaded.
to join a Celtics team that had Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish,
Danny Ainge,
Dennis Johnson, Bill Walton. I mean, damn. And he was going to give them an athletic wing who could guard people, who could score, who could attack. Maybe would have prevented the Pistons from ever overtaking, because the Pistons overtook the Celtics and then the Bulls overtook the Pistons.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Pistons don't get squeezed out.
Well, let's see. Back then they had Isaiah, who's a Hall of Famer. They had Bill Laimbeer, who's not a Hall of Famer, but was a really good player. They had Rodman, who was a Hall of Famer.
Joe Dumars.
Who was probably not is he a Hall of Famer? He'd be right there on the bubble.
If he's not, he was right there. John Sally was a very good player.
Absolutely.
Vinnie Johnson, the microwave. Was a very, yeah. I tell you, here's what's interesting, Jay, is I always enjoy seeing things through the eyes of my son, because, he looks at like the old basketball and you can tell he's kind of like, come on. And he watched that documentary and he was all in with, whoa, Jordan was great. They were great. And it was like, yeah, man, the Bulls were the biggest, they were the greatest show on earth. I mean, they were, if the Bulls were on TV, it was must-watch television.
Say this, Bo. So the Bulls were at their peak when I was a teenager. Let's see. They got really good in 90-ish.
Yeah, 91, 92, 93,
now,
94.
Jordan had the big playoff win over Mark Price over the Cavs. What was that, maybe 89? Where he had the hanging shot against the buzzer that was just so artistic.
The Elo shot, I can't remember when that was, 90 maybe?
It was Craig Elo, you're right. But whenever that was really when Jordan kind of went on the national stage, and you were like, oh, yeah, this guy's ready to start winning. Because you mentioned earlier in the show, there was some talk on Jordan early in his career that he couldn't win big games.
Yeah,
even though we all knew he was a beast.
Yeah,
he was a scorer. They were trying to cast him like Ricky Davis at the time. Ricky Davis didn't exist yet. I'm just saying these days, like all he can do is score. He was kind of coming into his own as a great defensive player, which he ended up becoming. It wasn't until about 91 that he became an absolute beast. I was 18 in 1981, or 1991, excuse me. So that was my prime, but I don't know. wasn't as big on the Bulls maybe as some other people, but I sure did love some Scottie Pippen. I was glad that they talked about him. And I think the next show, the third episode that's coming up on Sunday, they're going to have 3 and 4. Third episode is going to center on Rodman, who obviously is a very interesting character too. But I hope they focus more on him as a player, because I feel like the shows that we usually see on Rodman are about how he's a very eclectic individual, and I'm kind of bored with that now. I want to know more about Rodman the player and what he brought to the team, in addition to just having the snow cone hair and the piercings. I mean, the bottom line is he was one of the great rebounders of all time. He was a great post defender despite being only about, 6'6".
Yep.
And he played with such incredible ferocity all the time. He's a 38-minute a game guy. He deserves more credit for being a tremendous basketball player. And his
sister Deborah was a superstar at Louisiana Tech back when women's basketball was such a big deal. Yeah, and there was a family in my neighborhood that was all into the Lady Texters, and Deborah Rodman, I think, was like at their place a lot. So when Dennis Rodman came in, at first I knew him more as Deborah's brother than I did as Dennis. You know what I thought was interesting about, and you would hear it all the time. You know, they had one of the most famous introductions ever. You know, that dun dun dun, you know, that sound, that song, and they would show the bull going through Chicago, and now, you know, and it was Scottie Pippen from Central Arkansas, Dennis Rodman from Southeast Oklahoma
State,
Luke Longley from New Mexico, Ron Harper from Miami of Ohio.
That's right.
And then Jordan, of course, from North Carolina. He only had one blue blood guy. It was just a bunch of other dudes, you know, and it was just
true.
And then Phil Jackson, who was this kind of, at the time, was like this, you know, out there sort of a coach, you know, and from Montana. And it was just, it's kind of remarkable. The whole story is really remarkable. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to the whole thing.
Love the so they were highlighting, I think it was the 87 series against the Celtics.
Yep.
And Jordan went off for like 50-something points in that one game, although it was a loss. And they did the highlights transfixed with LL Cool J's song "I'm Bad" from '87. Oh my God, I love that song, man! It was such a perfect adaptation for that particular.
Well, you know what I remember about that, Jay, was, and you remember this maybe too, that 87, 86, 87, that era of NBA was Lakers Celtics. You were one or the other, and it was often divided on racial lines. And
what were you?
And I was a Lakers fan.
I was a Lakers fan too. Absolutely.
But all of my friends were Celtics fans, and so when those games got played, like when that series got played, Lakers Celtics, people were emotional about it, you know, and it was interesting just to go back and see the old Garden and to see, you know, Bird and McHale and Ainge and Parrish and Johnson, and you remember how good that Celtics team was, and they were hard to beat, and the Lakers were so good, and those were phenomenal series. God, the NBA was great then, and it was just kind of fun, you know, because I would always tell Carson about those series, and that series, a Lakers Celtics series, came on during this pandemic thing, and he would watch it, kind of like, all right, Dad, can I go back and play my PlayStation now?
Yeah.
And you know, but Jordan came on, and he was into it, so he can't wait to watch more of it, which has made it even more fun for me.
Yeah, I just moved the NBA I thought took a big step forward in around 85 to 86. Where it was kind of a niche product before that, and then it started, you know, I guess might have been around the time Jordan, but really for me it was Magic Bird had moved into the NBA, and that was becoming a bigger deal. Because you guys, you younger folks you weren't around to see this, but the NBA used to be kind of a niche product.
Yeah, before Magic and Bird, and then Magic and Bird came in, and Dr. J was in his prime, and trying to think who else was really good back then. There weren't a lot of great teams. The Sixers were really good. The Lakers, the Celtics, there were other good teams. George Gervin was with the Spurs. You know, there were good players, but yeah, I mean, you know, before that, everything was on tape delay. I mean, it just wasn't a big thing.
It wasn't a big thing.
And then that happened, and you know, James Worthy and Kareem and Magic, and then we just mentioned all the Celtics guys, and yeah, I mean. And then after that, we talked about it. I mean, you had that great Pistons team that finally knocked off the Lakers. Took them a while, but they got there. And then the Bulls, and then Michael had the stint where he didn't play basketball, and you had the Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and that series that was marked by the OJ chase and all that stuff, and then Jordan came back and won 3 more, and the NBA was just it was the king for a long time. I mean, and people forget how it was before that. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, no one watched the NBA. Everybody watched baseball.
Nobody watched. I never watched the NBA until
we were into baseball. You knew who the Cincinnati Reds were and the Boston Red Sox were.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's those were the stars. The Dodgers, that Steve Garvey and Davey Lopes and Bill Russell and Ron Say and all those cats. I mean, you knew who the Lakers. You knew who the Yankees were with Reggie Jackson and Thurman Munson and all. When I was a little kid, that's what the big sports. Yeah, Oscar Gamble and all of that, Dave Winfield and all that. When that was the deal, and so it took Magic and Bird and then Jordan for the NBA to get where it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
It's one of the things that was cool about like watching Twitter was to see all the current NBA guys that were like bowing. I mean, they realized that Jordan had paved the way in many ways for all of them to get generationally wealthy.
Paid. Absolutely. So good stuff, man. I would love to go through our starting 5 in the NBA history. I don't think it's the right time to do it because we're at the end of the show here, but I'd be interested to see what you and I thought about our starting 5 for the all-time NBA team.
All right, well, we'll save it for next week, but now let me ask this before we do it because I'm going to get the ground rules. Is it just 5, or do you have to have a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center?
Yeah, I would like to see positionally. I really would.
Yeah, because we did this thing with Zach Berry, who does recruiting for us, and Zach's a great dude. But Zach, in his backcourt, had Jordan and Kobe. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's two guards.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So that was my thing. Okay, so we'll have a true point guard, a true 2, a true small forward, a true power forward, and a true center.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to play Kobe at 3, you could because he played there a little bit.
Okay, but then can you play Kevin Durant at the 2?
Oh,
see what I mean? I mean, at some point
I hadn't thought about Durant really.
Because if you do that, you can suddenly play LeBron at the point, and so you start shifting around a little bit.
If you play LeBron at the point, then you got no Magic and no Oscar Robertson.
Yeah. That's my thing. Yeah, exactly. So we'll do it traditionally.
Okay, we'll do it traditionally.
And you can take a 6th man. You can let your 6th man be a little bit of a hybrid. How about that? We'll take a 6-man team.
Well, I'm taking Crawford then. He's the all-time greatest 6-man ever. Love that guy.
He's that.
Jamal Crawford.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap it up, McCready.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much to everybody for being in the stream, for listening. For JG Tate, I'm Neal McCready. For ACS, our friends there, Clay McNutt and the people there in Baldwin for sponsoring the show. For Corey Clark, the people at Cathead, all the people who have supported us over the course of time. We are appreciative to you, Stacy Wall, and the people at Pinnacle Trust, John Edwards at Regency Travel Incorporated. Until next time, that does it for this 95th edition of The Greatest Pod in the South. For JG Tate, I'm Neal McCready. You guys stay safe. Take care. Talk to you soon.
All right, that's a wrap, McCready.
All right, my man. I am podcasted out.
All right, bro. You be good.
Talk to you soon.
See you, man. All right, guys. So that's a wrap on our show. I'm looking forward to McGreefy breaking out his NBA all-time top 5. I'll give you a hint on me. If I'm just sitting here right now, I'm going to have to look this up because I actually want to spend some time on this because it's something that interests me. But my gut feeling right off the top is Magic Johnson at the point, Jordan at the 2, LeBron James at the 3, which means no Kobe. I don't know about 4 yet. There's too many guys that interest me there, and then Wilt Chamberlain at the 5 for me. For me. I need to look at that. There's a lot of dudes you can put in there at 4. And that means no Kobe, which is weird because he's an absolute beast. But, if you're talking about the top 5, sometimes, I personally would take Jordan over Kobe. I just would. And even though I like Kobe Bryant, he's a tremendous player. I like the Lakers, too. I mean, I'm probably a Lakers fanboy, if anything. But, Jordan, he's a beast. He's really, really good. Georgia Rebel says Magic, Jordan, LeBron, Duncan, which is a good call, and Wilt. Duncan's a very interesting call. Duncan, boy, he was really good too. And he went, I don't know as though this comes into the conversation, but somebody that can give you, whatever. I mean, Duncan never got hurt. I mean, he was always there. To me, that means something. Like when we're talking about baseball players, Dave Winfield, who is in the Hall of Fame, who's an absolute stud. But what I loved about Dave Winfield is he gives you 162 games a year. Like, he's always out there. I mean, Cal Ripken, I'm not the biggest fan of him because I think he's a little bit overrated, but he's also a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that gives you 162. I mean, he's out there every single game. So, to me, there's something to be said for somebody that shows up every single night and brings it every single night. Michael Jordan did that. That's not to say Kobe didn't, because he did. But I love guys that can just play all the time and never get hurt. Anyway, Sam Howell says Manu Ginobili for the 6th spot. He's a badass too. I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Leif mentions another total badass. Kind of stuck a little. I mean, first of all, he's a beast. I mean, first ballot Hall of Fame, top 20 players of all time. Kind of stuck in a weird era, right? Because he played for the Bucks and he was a badass and everybody knew that. Then he gets traded to the Lakers and he ends up kind of being part of that Showtime era when he was more of a traditional back to the basket guy, and then the Lakers were trying to push tempo, and I thought he adapted well, but I don't think it was perfect for him. I don't know. Absolute beast though. He's definitely in the conversation there. And then where does Bill Murray stack up? Oh man, I know absolutely, Leif. I remember, man. Kareem was the first lieutenant in the airplane. What's our Roger? What's the vector, Victor? I've been hearing that shit since Walton and Lanier. I've been dragging Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes. Tell your old man. I watched it so many times, dude. Airplane, I had it on a video disc. My dad was big on this is an emerging technology when you really need to get it. And, I watched Airplane many, many times on the video disc. Well, that was a really good show, I thought. We went an hour and 18 minutes, which is probably actually an hour and 15 minutes, but Colby P says Jackie Moon from I can't remember the name of that movie. That was the basketball movie. Semi-Pro, maybe? Starring Will Ferrell, whom I met at Talladega many, many years ago, and he was not as funny as I thought he would be. I thought he would just be a guy that walked around and told jokes all the time, and he's not. I mean, he's still funny, obviously, but maybe he was just having an off day. I don't know. The heck is a video disc? So in the early 80s, you had a few ways. There was no on-demand or anything like that. Cable was, you had like 25 channels on cable. There was no such thing as like on-demand or anything like that. There was obviously no streaming. So the other choices to watch videos were through Betamax or VHS tapes. And then you also had video discs. The ones that I had, or my dad had, were RCA video discs, which you would put in like a cartridge into the machine, and it would extricate the disc from the machine and then play it. There were also ones that you had a video disc that looked like a record. You would just put them in straight like a record. But I had the RCA ones, and that was a way to watch movies, and it was a big deal at the time. So my dad had I was like 10 or 11. And he actually got me Airplane, which, if you think about it, like, it's not super tawdry, but there are a pair of boobs in that, I think, and then there's a lot of, like, cussing and stuff. Some cussing. Some adult themes, I should say. But anyway, it was great. I got that. I got On Golden Pond, which is, you take what you can get. What else did I have? Something about a Technicolor Dreamcoat, which I think was really for my sister. I got like 3 or 4 movies. None of them really good, but Airplane was really good. And I watched it a bunch of times. I don't know. So I know like basically everything about Airplane. Just because my dad also has a VHS player, but I don't know. We were trying to do the video disc thing. I don't know. My dad was pretty cool, man, back in the day. He tried to be like the first guy to get gadgets. He was the first guy in my neighborhood to get a Walkman. He got me a CD player, a portable CD player for Christmas 1985, which was really on the front end of that technology. I mean, I'm not joking. It was massive. Okay, here's a picture I have of my wife on my desk. This thing was like the size of the CD player. I mean, it was massive. And I took it. My great grandfather died on Christmas. He died on Christmas Eve, 1985. And my dad decided we decided we were going to go to Kentucky for his funeral because he's a big deal. My great granddad was. He was a luminary where he was from. And he said, we're going to go. So we actually flew on Christmas Day to go to his funeral. And my dad gave me the compact disc player and two discs. He gave me Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. And he gave me Dream of the Blue Turtles by Sting. And so I had two discs. Fired up, man. I was so fired up to have them. And when I took it on the airplane, there weren't many people on it back in those days. On Christmas, I mean, it was probably 5% full, and the people, like the stewardesses they were just absolutely amazed. They're like, "What is this?" And I remember being like, "It's a compact disc player," and they had never seen one. They were like, "Oh my god, it's like a little record." I was like, "Yeah, kind of." Really fired up about it. Yes, Melee says JG's dad was an early adopter. My dad was definitely big on technology and stuff. He thought that was really, really cool, and he was a physician, so he had a little bit of money, I imagine. I mean, I don't know his financial details, but he had a little bit of money. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. So my daughter turns 18 on Friday, I think, 24th. Tuesday. Friday. We've been saving up to get my wife a car because my wife's driving a 04 Sequoia, which we bought new at the time. And it was 15 years ago, I guess. Almost 20. No, almost 16. Excuse me. And we decided we're going to use that money that we've been saving for her car. We're going to get my daughter a car. Even though she has a car, it's a little ratted out. We're going to get her a brand new car. I never thought I'd be this guy. Never thought I'd be this guy to get my daughter a new car, but I'm going to do it. And kudos to my wife for agreeing to do it. It's pretty awesome. I'm pretty fired up about it. So Friday, hopefully I'm going to be able to pull this off so my daughter doesn't even know what's going on. I'm going to have to do a deal where I trade in her car. I mean, I got to, but it's going to be a transaction because we got the money, but I can do it pretty quickly. And my daughter, she didn't get up until a little bit later in the day. I don't know if you guys have teenagers, you know what I'm talking about, but hopefully I can get it switched and swapped before she even gets up on her birthday. And then just be like, I don't know. I don't know where your car's at. Why don't you go out there and see if it's out there, dumbass? Where'd you park it? All Hydraulics trying to pull some Florence Henderson out of there. Cuddy say, can't hang, Jive Turkey. Shit, man. Trying to mess with my old lady? Got to be kind of cold upside down his head, you know? Andrew B says, good for you, Jay. Scott recommends the Camry. I remember Scott. Scott said, Scott once upon a time said he had bought a Camry from Lynch Toyota in Auburn, who are very, very awesome about sponsoring our podcast, which we haven't been doing much of lately. Obviously because of the downturn in the economy or whatever, but anyway, Scott said he had just bought a new Camry at Lynch, and he was driving down the highway. I drive a Camry myself. I drive a 15. I drive a 14 hybrid because I love Camrys. I just do. They're very reliable, and the Camry gets incredible gas mileage to and from Auburn. I know we're in an era now where gas is about to be about 10 cents a gallon. I still feel like I'm beating the man. Lay says we ain't telling. Thank goodness. I'm glad you won't. Melee says you have to tell her to get it. You have to get her to clean it out first. Yeah, so here's what I did. I told her today that her car looked like dog shit, which it kind of did. And I was like, you need to go ahead and clean that shit out because your mother's about to flip her lid and just clean it out for me, okay? And she was like, okay, I'll do it. And then she did it, believe it or not. First time I've seen it clean in like a year. And it was spotless. I mean, she had washed the outside. She had like vacuumed and done the whole thing. And I was like, man, you did an awesome job on that. She's like, yeah, it feels like a new car. I was like, I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, the car's in perfect shape right now. So we'll see what happens. All Hydraulics says Subaru, Camry for granny. Hey, damn you. You don't have to be a granny to drive a Camry. One of her friends, Olivia, has a Subaru, and it's a pretty sweet ride, but I don't think my daughter's really into Subaru. I mean, it's cool. She's not hating on it. She's just saying. Melee says people love the Subarus up here in the mountains. I would too, man. It's the Subarus, those Outbacks, pretty sweet. Love the Cat says get her a Jeep. No, man, Jeeps don't hold up, man. They're really cool looking, but electrically, their electrical systems tend to fail. I've had a lot of friends through the years have Jeeps, and they always have electrical problems. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't want to say I'm getting her yet, but we got something up our sleeve. But y'all don't tell her now. Not that you guys would, but we'll see what happens. All right, I guess I'll wrap it up. I've had about, I don't know, if you guys are counting at home, I don't know how many shots I had, Hornatius. I had at least 5. I cashed out the Old Soul. Let me rephrase. I cashed out that particular bottle of Old Soul. And I've got 2 more. And then we've been drinking the hell out of the honeysuckle vodka, too. Gannett has some really good stuff. So I need to bring another one up here. And I also mentioned this. I showed it on the show. I was drinking this Legent, which is actually a Beam product. I picked this up in Kentucky when I was up there. I asked my friend at State Liquors in near Gerstl's in Louisville, in St. Matthews, what he thought was some really good bourbon in the lower end. And he pointed me to this Legent, which it's not like the best bourbon I've ever had, but it's good. We paid, I think, $25, $28 for this bottle. And to me, it's a slightly better Beam. You can tell it has Beam in it because it's kind of nutty, but it's good. I like it. Let's see. Reynolds Wolf. You guys may know Reynolds W if you guys are Weather Channel fans. I am myself. Reynolds is on the AM show. Absolute beast. Native of Jemison, Alabama. It says best cheap bourbon. Man, oh man. There's a lot of good ones. You know I love me some cheap bourbon. All right, I think the Evan Williams, the black label, I'm not sure if it's single barrel. I think it's Evan Williams single barrel. Is really good. The Russell Reserve red sticker is not very expensive, and that is really good. It's a little on the sweet side, but it's good. Wild Turkey 101, I love. Me and JB drink the hell out of that. J-Dub, I should say. We drink the hell out of that. It's a little hot, but not bad. There's something called Wild Turkey Rare Breed that you usually can find in ABC in Alabama. Now, I know you're not in Alabama, Reynolds, so you're over in Georgia, but that's pretty available. The Wild Turkey Rare Breed, it probably is going to cost you $30-ish, which is to me is not cheap, but it's not expensive either. That's really good. Evan Williams, and I got Ezra 9 for $24.99 at the Grub Stop in Auburn. Which I think now that I look at it and I've been kind of keeping an eye on it, that's an insane deal. It's probably more like a $35 bottle of the old Ezra 9. No, it's old Ezra 7, excuse me. So I wouldn't call that cheap. It's probably too much really on 35. Anyway, Melee says Evan Williams White Label 100 proof is decent. I have not had that myself. Let's see. Melee also says Virgin Bourbon 101 proof. I'm not familiar with that at all. The Old Soul that I was drinking earlier is a little more expensive than that. I would not call that a cheap bourbon. I think that's $35 at ABC. Rebel Grove says, Georgia Rebel says $17.92 for the win. So I usually drink $17.92 Bottle and Bond, which is the yellow top, and I think it's good, and it is relatively inexpensive. I think at ABC it's like $27. So that would be inexpensive to me, and I think that's a good pour, Reynolds. That's a good one. I would probably say Russell Reserve, though. I think you can get that a little bit under 30, and to me, that's cheap. And I think that's really good bourbon. But you can't go. I mean, there's a bunch there. The Wild Turkey, Reynolds, when you and I were young, Wild Turkey was kind of like, it was kind of there wasn't a lot of nuance to it, but I feel like it's better now. I don't know. So the 101 and the Rare Breed, to me, Wild Turkey is a good one. And Russell Reserve, which is actually also comes from Wild Turkey, is another good one. I really like that. $17.92 is solid. This is just my opinion. I think it tastes a little bit watered down. They do have a foolproof version, but I haven't been able to get my hand on it yet. They have it up at my bar, the Tipping Point. I would love to have a shot of it, but I haven't had it yet. There's a rumor going around that maybe we're going to get some in the ABC store this week of the foolproof 1792, which I don't think is particularly expensive, and I really want to have it. And I feel like also since I drove by 1792 on my way to the Willett Distillery earlier this year, no, it was late last year, having seen it and where they actually age the bottles, I feel like I have a connection with it, but there's nothing to that. Let's see. Melee says under $30, it's Elijah Craig. There's no doubt. I don't have it here to now. I did get a special barrel select of the Elijah Craig, and it was really good. I've been really happy with that. So, yeah, Elijah Craig's in there, too. Reynolds says the Wild Turkey 101 is delightful. To me, it didn't feel super hot, considering it's 101. That's not super. I know. I drink Old Granddad 114, and that's no big deal, but Wild Turkey 101. My friend gave me some Stag Jr., my friend Justin, up at the bar the other day. Some Stag Jr., which he said was around 130 proof. Man, it was hot. I mean, yowzers. Leif says, y'all need to live in Kentucky. Almost everything is under 30 here. Yeah, tell me about it, brother. My daughter's final 2 schools were South Alabama and Transylvania. And I'm a graduate of Transy, actually. You probably already know that. My wife is, too. In a way, I kind of hoped that she was going to go there. But once the virus hit and it was obvious that things were going to be disrupted for a really long time, it just made more sense. I was kind of rooting for her to go to South at that point. The Ole Miss thing, I don't know. I think Ole Miss just got a little big for her. And I think Transy ultimately was a little bit too small for her. Transy has about 1,000 students. Ole Miss has like 1 billion. I'm just kidding, but it's like 30 or 40,000. And then South is like 15 to 18, something like that. So ended up working out. She really liked Ole Miss, and there was a long time where I thought that she was going to go to Ole Miss, but turns out that didn't happen. All right, I'm just rambling here, guys. Just rambling and babbling. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Let's see, what do we get on McCready here? Look at him. I love it. I thought he would like having Chris Bryant, but he wasn't able to see that. You know, he was just kind of doing the show on Skype, and I didn't make my screen available for him this time. Sometimes it gets my computer going like super hot. It almost like overworks my computer. I noticed that it stopped doing it now. So it must be the Skype that gets my computer so hot and going. Reynolds says South Alabama is a lovely choice. Thank you, sir. That's awesome. I'm really fired up. Like I said, she got a great scholarship right off the bat. She got another like supplemental scholarship the other day. So our bill is down to like $4,000 a year. And she's still up for like 5 more. So, you know, 1 more scholarship and you're down to like pennies, really. And I mean, South, when I first went there in 99 to cover Auburn playing at South Alabama basketball, it was kind of like, I don't know. Showed up about a year ago, and I was like, oh, my God, they poured a lot of money into this. They have a bunch of new dorms, bunch of new buildings. It looks really, really good. So I'm pretty fired up about that. Melee says, guess y'all covered Gus's tweet earlier. Yeah. I haven't really covered it, but I saw it before we went on the air. Gus was he did one of those emojis. Apparently somebody, I don't want to name any names, but somebody out there is concerned about the pace of play. Maybe somebody that lost a 48-45 game earlier in the year. I don't want to name any names, but it happens sometimes. So anyway. Gus. Yeah, I don't tell people in the bunker very much. I kind of like Gus. I like Gus. I like Gus as a person. I find him interesting. He's come a long way in the last couple of years, honestly. I felt like there was a time, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where he just viewed all reporters as like bad guys. And it's almost like in high school, he got burned by somebody, and he just decided that he didn't like reporters, and he just kind of gave it the blanket treatment. And then I went out to breakfast with him maybe 2 months ago, right before this all started, and I told him that, I was like, it seemed like you had a problem with media. He was like, no, I didn't have a problem with media. I just didn't understand, where you guys are coming from. We're really not. I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious where we're coming from. We're writing stories, And he didn't really understand, like, what interested me about my job. He loves the competition of putting together a team and then going against some other guy who's put together his team, and going at it. And I think in his mind, he's like, well, JG doesn't have a team. and Philip doesn't have one, and Brandon doesn't have one, and Jason doesn't have one, and Brian doesn't have one. So what are y'all doing? And I'm like, I like telling stories, man. I like, for me, I like breaking news, and I like telling stories too, maybe more on the news side. And then now I like doing shows. And actually, a lot of the conversation we had at breakfast was about this, doing the brain drain and doing the podcast and just kind of tell me about what you do. Why do you do it on the YouTube? Kind of stuff. And he was interested. So it was interesting to me that he cared enough to ask and wonder about it. His wife's awesome. I've told you guys that a million times. All right, so we'll wrap it up. It's kind of weird to see Reynolds on the show because I watch his show when he does live shows from his house, and so I'm doing a live show from my house, and we're kind of flipping it up. But that's good. That's good. Tell you what, since we're late in the show, very very late in the show, but I'm gonna drink some of this. I haven't had this on the air in a minute. This is Maker's Mark Gold. I used to tell you guys when I was in college, the only thing we ever drank was Maker's Mark Red or Maker's Mark Gold. I thought the Gold was 100 proof, but this is actually 90 proof. This is a special select version for ABC Concrete, which is my granddad, Jason Tate, and my uncle, Jim Gillis. They ran ABC Concrete in Versailles, Kentucky, and they got some of this, obviously. And I actually got this in the will from my granddad, for Jason. So I'm going to have a little sip of this. I forgot what it tastes like. I haven't had it in a while. I mean, there's only so much to go, right? This is all I've got. But at the same time, it's meant to be drank. If I were to hold this, 30 more years and I died and my kids got it, they'd go, or my kid got it, they'd be like, who gives a shit? All right. So this is 90 proof Gold Maker's Mark. This is from probably 1980. Let's see what this tastes like. It's good. Honestly, tastes a little watery to me, but. Uh-oh. Got a text from my administrative assistant. Says, wrap it up. Okay, I'll do it. I'm really not. I don't feel like I'm that loaded, though. Uh-oh. We can't talk about that. I showed you guys this earlier. This is a picture of my wife that we came across. I mentioned the transparencies. This is her as a kid. I love the fucking baller picture she's got. It's awesome. She's such a gangster. Look at her. So awesome. So, man, it was so joyous to see those pictures of her and her mom and her dad and her sister and her bro and other people like her cousins that I know. Is awesome. All right, we'll wrap it up, guys. It sure was awesome doing the show for you guys, and we'll have it out on podcast form probably in the morning. It would probably be better for me than I put it out in the morning. And I think we're going to get back on schedule for next week. So hopefully Sunday, at worst Monday. Surely we're not going to have another round of bad weather on Sunday, but who knows? The weather's been awesome since that storm on Sunday night. But, guys, be good out there. Let's make great decisions. Even if your state opens, I'm not saying you got to stay home, but let's make good decisions. Let's stay safe. Let's stay healthy. And as always, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Y'all be good. Peace.